Some marriages end in divorce. Some end in death. Lyra Vale's marriage was supposed to end in exactly 365 days. No sooner, no later. But standing in a bullet-riddled penthouse at 3 a.m. watching the man she'd sworn to never love bleed onto Italian marble, she realized contracts mean nothing when your heart's already signed away. This is the story of a woman who married a monster to survive and discovered the most dangerous thing in the world isn't the man who owns the city. It's the moment you stop wanting to leave him. Hit like, comment your city so I can see how far this story travels, and let's begin. The rain came down like punishment the night Lyra buried her father, not the soft, cleansing kind of rain that washes things away. This was the cold, mean variety that soaked through your coat and settled into your bones, the kind that made you wonder if the sky itself was angry. Lyra stood alone at the graveside, watching cheap coffin wood darken under the downpour, and thought about how fitting it was that even the weather had shown up to spit on Thomas Vale's memory. No flowers, no mourners, just her, a bored cemetery worker smoking under a tree, and a hole in the ground that had cost more than she could afford. The shovel hit mud with a wet slap. Another load of earth disappeared into the grave. Lyra's hands were shaking. From cold or grief or rage, she couldn't tell anymore. Probably all three. Probably none of them. Grief required the luxury of feeling, and she'd run out of that somewhere between the hospital bills and the foreclosure notice. 30 days. That's what the letter had said. 30 days to vacate the premises, or the bank would remove her belongings to the curb and change the locks. The house where she'd grown up, the house her mother had died in, the house her father had apparently mortgaged 3 times over to pay for debts Lyra hadn't even known existed. Miss Vale? She didn't turn. Yeah. We're done here. The cemetery worker looked uncomfortable, like he'd rather be anywhere else. You need a minute, or... I'm good. She wasn't good. She was 26 years old, unemployed, drowning in her father's debts, and about to be homeless. But good was what you said when the truth was too ugly to speak out loud. The worker nodded, relieved, and walked away quickly. Lyra heard his truck start up, gravel crunching under tires, and then she was alone with the rain and the dead. You left me with nothing, she said to the grave. Her voice came out flat, empty. I hope you know that. The rain kept falling. The dead stayed silent, and Lyra turned away from her father's grave, knowing she'd never come back. She made it 3 steps before she saw the car. Black. Expensive. The kind of vehicle that didn't belong in a place like this. Too sleek, too clean, too deliberately powerful. It sat at the cemetery gates like a predator that had wandered into the wrong habitat, and even through the rain, Lyra could see someone sitting in the back seat, watching her. Her stomach dropped. She knew what men in cars like that wanted. She'd seen enough crime dramas, heard enough stories from her father's old friends before they'd all vanished. Men in black cars didn't show up to deliver good news. Lyra's first instinct was to run. Her second was to laugh at herself. Run where? She had nowhere to go. No one to call. Nothing left to lose. So she walked toward the car instead. The rear window rolled down smoothly, and Lyra got her first look at Ronan DeLuca. Later, she'd remember thinking he looked like violence wearing a suit. Sharp features, pale gray eyes that seemed to catalog everything about her in seconds. Dark hair pushed back from his face. Handsome in the way a knife was handsome. Beautiful and deadly, and absolutely not safe to touch. Lyra Vale. His voice was low, controlled. Not a question. Who's asking? Someone who knew your father, her jaw tightened. Yeah? Get in line. Apparently half the city knew my father, and they all want money I don't have. I'm not here for money. Then what do you want? Ronan studied her for a long moment. Rain dripped off her hair, down her face, and Lyra refused to look away first. Whatever this was, shakedown, threat, some final humiliation her father had left behind, she was done being scared. Get in the car, Ronan said finally. We need to talk. I'm fine in the rain. Miss Vale, you're standing in a cemetery in a storm wearing a coat with holes in it. You haven't eaten in 2 days. Your father died owing significant debts to dangerous people, and you have exactly, he glanced at his watch, 29 days before you're evicted. So no, you're not fine. Get in the car. Lyra's breath caught. How the hell did he know all that? The door swung open. Ronan waited, expression unreadable. Every instinct screamed at her to walk away, to tell him to go to hell and take whatever predatory offer he was about to make with him. But 29 days kept echoing in her head, and the rain kept falling, and she was so goddamn tired of fighting alone. She got in the car. The interior smelled like leather and money. Ronan sat across from her, perfectly composed, while Lyra dripped water onto expensive upholstery and tried not to shiver. A privacy screen separated them from the driver. The door closed with a heavy, final click. "You're going to catch pneumonia," Ronan observed. "I'll add it to my list of problems." His mouth twitched, not quite a smile. "Your father worked for my family years ago. He helped broker agreements between certain business interests." "Business interests?" Lyra laughed bitterly. "You mean criminals? I mean people who operate outside traditional legal structures." "So criminals?" Ronan inclined his head slightly. "If you prefer." "What does that have to do with me?" "Your father took certain risks on my family's behalf. When things went badly, he paid a price, and I—" Ronan paused, choosing his words carefully. "I believe debts should be honored, even posthumously." Lyra stared at him. "You're saying you owe my father?" "I'm saying my father owed yours, and I settle my father's debts." "How noble." She couldn't keep the acid out of her voice. "So what? You're here to throw me some guilt money? Clear your conscience?" "No." Ronan leaned forward slightly. "I'm here to offer you a solution." "I don't need—" "Yes, you do." His voice didn't rise, but something in it made Lyra's throat close. "You owe $73,000 in medical bills, $42,000 in credit card debt your father accumulated. The house has been foreclosed on. You have $800 in your bank account and no job. In 1 month, you'll be on the street. So please, Miss Vale, skip the pride. We both know you need this." The truth hit like a fist. Lyra wanted to scream at him, to throw the door open and storm out, but her body wouldn't move. Because he was right, about all of it. "What do you want?" she asked quietly. Ronan reached into his jacket and pulled out a thick envelope. He set it on the seat between them. 1 year, he said. "You marry me, live in my home, appear at my side when necessary, play the role of my wife in public." Lyra's brain stuttered. "What?" "In exchange, every debt disappears. The house is paid off in full and transferred to your name. You receive a monthly allowance of $10,000. And at the end of 1 year, you walk away with $2 million and a clean divorce." The numbers were so absurd they didn't even sound real. Lyra shook her head slowly. "Why?" "My reasons are my own." "That's not an answer." Ronan's expression hardened. "It's the only answer you're getting. You want to know the terms? Open the envelope. You want to negotiate? Hire a lawyer. I'll pay for it. You want to walk away? The door is right there. But if you ask me why again, this conversation is over." Lyra's hands were shaking again. She looked at the envelope like it might bite her. "No touching," Ronan continued, his voice clinical now. "No romantic expectations. Separate bedrooms. You attend events, smile for cameras, and otherwise live your life. After 1 year, we file for divorce citing irreconcilable differences. You leave wealthy and debt-free." "This is insane. This is a business transaction. People don't just—" Lyra struggled for words. "Marriage isn't a business transaction. It is when both parties agree to terms." Ronan tilted his head slightly. "You're thinking this is too good to be true, that there's a catch. You're wondering what I really want from you." "Yeah, I am." "Smart." He almost smiled. "The catch is simple. You'll be entering my world. That world is dangerous. You'll meet people who will smile at you and then try to destroy you the moment you turn around. You'll attend events where one wrong word could start a war. And you'll be doing it all while pretending to be in love with a man the city fears." "Why me?" Lyra heard herself ask. "If you need a wife for whatever this is, why not someone already in your world? Someone who knows the rules?" For the first time, something flickered behind Ronan's eyes. Something almost human. "Because everyone in my world wants something from me," he said quietly. "Power, money, protection, status. You're the first person I've met in years who wants nothing to do with any of it. That makes you the only person I can trust not to use this against me." The honesty of it was startling. Lyra sat back, her mind racing. This was insane, completely, utterly insane. Marrying a stranger, a criminal, for money was the kind of thing desperate people did in movies, not real life. Except she was desperate, and this was real, and in 29 days she'd have nothing. I need to think, she started. No. Ronan cut her off. You have 60 seconds to decide. After that, I leave, and this offer disappears forever. That's not enough time, but 50 seconds. Lyra's heart hammered against her ribs. You can't just... 40 seconds. Ronan checked his watch again, utterly calm. This is a limited window, Miss Vale. Other options exist. You're simply my preferred choice. Other options? Other women who'd jump at this. Lyra's brain supplied images of elegant, sophisticated women who already knew how to navigate Ronan's world, who wouldn't embarrass him, who'd actually be useful. Why was he even offering this to her? 20 seconds. Wait, 10. Lyra grabbed the envelope. Her hands were shaking so badly she could barely open it. Inside was a contract, pages and pages of legal language she couldn't process, but the numbers jumped out at her. $2 million. All debts cleared. The house in her name. Freedom. Or a different kind of prison. Time's up, Ronan said softly. Lyra looked up at him, searched his face for any sign of deception, any hint of the trap she knew had to be there. She found nothing, just cold gray eyes and infinite patience. If I say yes, she heard herself ask, when does it start? Tomorrow. We marry at sunset. You move into my home immediately afterward. Tomorrow. Not next week. Not next month. Tomorrow. Lyra thought about the empty house waiting for her. The bills stacked on the kitchen counter. The grave she'd just walked away from. Her father's voice in her head, always telling her to be smart, to survive, to never let pride get in the way of necessity. She thought about 29 days, and she thought about $2 million. I want my own lawyer to review this, she said. Agreed. I'll have someone at your house in 1 hour. I want it in writing that you won't touch me, that this is purely, it's already in the contract, page 7, section 12. And after 1 year, I walk away clean. No strings, no debts, no... Miss Vale. Ronan's voice was gentle now, almost kind. Everything you're asking for is already in the contract. Read it. Have a lawyer read it. You'll find I'm quite serious about honoring agreements. Lyra looked down at the envelope in her lap. Her reflection stared back at her from the tinted window, soaked, exhausted, desperate. Her father used to say that survival wasn't pretty, that sometimes you had to make ugly choices to live another day. This was the ugliest choice she'd ever faced. Okay, she whispered. Ronan nodded once, stood, and knocked on the privacy screen. The car began moving. Where are we going? Lyra asked. I'm taking you home. The lawyer will arrive within the hour. Read the contract carefully. If you have any concerns, address them tonight. Tomorrow morning, a car will pick you up at 9. We'll handle the marriage license and ceremony privately. By tomorrow night, you'll be Lyra DeLuca. The name sounded foreign, impossible. What do I tell people? She asked. Friends? Family? Do you have friends or family? The question should have hurt. Instead, it just felt true. Lyra shook her head. Then you tell them nothing, Ronan said. This arrangement stays between us until I say otherwise. The car pulled up outside her father's house. Her house, for 29 more days. Rain drummed on the roof. Lyra stared at the peeling paint, the overgrown lawn, the for sale sign the bank had already posted. Miss Vale. She turned. Ronan was watching her with an expression she couldn't read. This will not be easy, he said quietly. My world will test you in ways you can't imagine. People will try to hurt you to get to me. And at the end of the year, when you walk away, you'll carry scars you didn't have before. Are you trying to talk me out of it? I'm trying to be honest with you, because once you sign that contract, there's no going back. You'll be mine for 365 days. Something in the way he said mine sent electricity down Lyra's spine. Not possessive, not exactly. More like a warning. I understand, she said. Do you? I'm not an idiot, Mr. DeLuca. I know what you are, what you do. I'm not signing this contract because I trust you. I'm signing it because I'm out of options. So yes, I understand exactly what I'm agreeing to. For a moment, something that might have been respect flickered across Ronan's face. Tomorrow at 9, he said. Lyra got out of the car and ran through the rain to her front door. She didn't look back. Behind her, she heard the car pull away, expensive engine purring into the storm. Inside, the house was exactly as she'd left it, cold, empty, falling apart. Lyra set the envelope on the kitchen counter and stared at it. 1 year. Marry a criminal. $2 million. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. This is Martin Chen, attorney for Mr. DeLuca. I'll be arriving at your residence in 45 minutes to review the contract. Please have questions prepared. Lyra laughed, a sharp, slightly hysterical sound that echoed through the empty house. 12 hours ago, she'd been burying her father. Now she was preparing to marry a man whose last name she'd only learned 10 minutes ago. The contract sat on the counter, thick and official and completely insane. Lyra picked it up and started reading. The lawyer arrived exactly 45 minutes later, an older man with expensive glasses and a briefcase that probably cost more than Lyra's car. He spread the contract across her kitchen table and walked her through it line by line. Everything Ronan had said was true. 1 year, $2 million, all debts cleared, separate bedrooms, no physical contact, clean divorce at the end. There were clauses about public appearances, confidentiality, behavior expectations. Nothing that seemed unreasonable. Nothing that screamed trap. This is legitimate? Lyra asked. Martin Chen looked at her over his glasses. Mr. DeLuca's contracts are always legitimate. He may operate in gray areas, Miss Vale, but his word is iron. If this document says you'll walk away in 1 year with $2 million, you will walk away in 1 year with $2 million. And if I want out before then? There's a termination clause, page 23. You forfeit all compensation, all debt clearance reverts, and you're liable for any costs incurred on your behalf. Essentially, you'd leave with nothing and owe more than you do now. So, no escape hatch. 1 year or nothing. Any other questions? Chen asked. Lyra had about 1,000. What was Ronan's real angle? Why did he need a fake wife? What dangers would she actually face? But she knew she wouldn't get answers to any of those. No, she said. No more questions. Chen produced a pen. Sign at the bottom of each page. Initial where marked. Lyra's hand hovered over the first signature line. This was it. The moment everything changed. Once she signed, there was no going back. She thought about her father's grave. The foreclosure notice. 29 days. She signed. Page after page, her signature appeared. Lyra M. Vale. Lyra M. Vale. Lyra M. Vale. Until she reached the final page. One more thing, Chen said. He pulled out a small box and opened it. Inside was a ring. Not flashy, not huge, just a simple platinum band with a single diamond that caught the overhead light and threw it back in sharp, clear facets. Mr. DeLuca asked me to give you this, Chen said. He'll have the matching band tomorrow. Lyra stared at the ring. It was beautiful, elegant, exactly the kind of thing a man like Ronan DeLuca would choose. She slipped it onto her finger. Perfect fit. Of course it was. Chen gathered the contracts, nodded politely, and left. Lyra sat alone in her kitchen, staring at the ring on her hand, and tried to remember how to breathe. Tomorrow, she'd marry a stranger. Tomorrow, her life would become someone else's. Tomorrow, Lyra Vale would disappear and Lyra DeLuca would take her place. She looked at the ring again. In the dim kitchen light, it almost looked like a shackle. The car arrived at 9 a.m. sharp. Lyra had spent the night not sleeping, packing a single suitcase with clothes that suddenly seemed too cheap, too worn, too obviously not the kind of thing a woman marrying Ronan DeLuca would own. She'd showered, put on the only dress she owned that wasn't falling apart, simple black, bought for her father's funeral yesterday. Applied makeup with shaking hands. In the mirror, she looked like a ghost. The driver didn't speak, just loaded her suitcase into the trunk and opened the rear door. Lyra took one last look at the house she'd grown up in, then got in the car. Downtown passed in a blur. They didn't go to a courthouse. Instead, the car pulled up to a private building, all glass and steel and money. A side entrance. An elevator that required a key card. Ronan was waiting on the top floor. He wore a different suit, still black, still perfectly tailored, and looked like he'd slept 8 hours and woken up refreshed. Lyra hated him a little for that. "Miss Vale," he greeted her. "Mr. DeLuca." Last chance to walk away. Lyra met his eyes. "I signed the contract. Contracts can be voided. Is that what you want?" Something flickered in his expression. "No." "Then let's get married." The ceremony lasted 7 minutes. A judge Ronan clearly knew personally. 2 witnesses Lyra had never seen before. Words that sounded like they were coming from underwater. "I do. I do. You may kiss the bride." Ronan leaned in. For one heart-stopping moment, Lyra thought he was actually going to kiss her. Instead, he pressed his lips to her cheek, barely a touch, gone in a second. "Welcome to the family, Mrs. DeLuca," he murmured against her ear. And just like that, Lyra Vale ceased to exist. The penthouse was on the 43rd floor of a building that looked like it had been designed by someone who thought money could buy good taste. Floor-to-ceiling windows, marble floors, art on the walls that probably cost more than most people made in a lifetime. Everything white and chrome and sterile. "Your room is down the hall," Ronan said, shrugging off his jacket. "Second door on the left. Your belongings will be delivered this afternoon along with a new wardrobe. Measurements were taken from your clothing while you slept." Lyra's blood went cold. "You broke into my house?" "I sent people to collect your things. They were professionals." "That's breaking in. That's efficiency." Ronan loosened his tie, utterly unconcerned. "You'll need appropriate clothing for public appearances. A stylist will visit tomorrow to finalize your wardrobe. Hair and makeup team on Wednesday. You have your first event Friday night, a charity gala, black tie." "You're just deciding all of this for me?" "I'm managing logistics. If you have preferences, express them." Lyra wanted to scream. Instead, she took a breath and reminded herself this was a job, a transaction. She could survive a year. "Fine," she said. "What else?" "There are rules." Ronan moved to the bar, poured himself 2 fingers of something amber, didn't offer her any. "First, you don't leave this building without security. Ever. Second, you don't speak to the press without my explicit approval. Third, anything you learn about my business stays confidential. Forever. Fourth, in public, we are a married couple in love. In private, we're business partners. Never confuse the two." "Anything else, Your Majesty?" Ronan's eyes cut to her. For a moment, she thought she'd gone too far. Then he smiled, a sharp, dangerous expression that didn't reach his eyes. "Yes, don't fall in love with me, Lyra. It won't end well." The arrogance was breathtaking. "I don't think that's going to be a problem." "Good. Then we understand each other." He walked past her, heading for what she assumed was his bedroom. Lyra stood in the middle of the massive living room, feeling small and out of place, and completely, utterly lost. "Ronan." He stopped, turned. "Why are you really doing this?" she asked. "Don't give me the debt speech. Tell me the truth." For a long moment, he just looked at her. Then he said, "Because I needed a wife I wouldn't be tempted to touch." The words hit like a slap. Before Lyra could respond, Ronan disappeared down the hall. She stood there, alone in a stranger's home, wearing a stranger's ring, and wondered what the hell she'd just done. The first 3 days were a blur of people and protocols and rules Lyra couldn't keep straight. The stylist arrived with racks of clothing, designer labels Lyra recognized from magazines, fabrics that felt like they'd disintegrate if she breathed wrong. She was measured, photographed, cataloged like a doll being prepared for display. The hairstylist cut 6 inches off and gave her something called balayage that apparently cost as much as a car payment. The makeup artist taught her contouring techniques and handed her a bag of products with instructions to practice. A woman named Maria appeared to teach her etiquette, how to hold a wine glass, make small talk, identify important people by subtle visual cues. It felt like learning a foreign language. And through it all, Ronan was barely there. He left early each morning, returned late at night. When they did cross paths, he was polite but distant, treating her like a colleague he was vaguely disappointed in. Lyra told herself she didn't care. This was a job. He was her boss. Keep it professional. But something about the way he looked through her instead of at her made her feel invisible. Friday came too fast. The gala was at some mansion in the hills, one of those estates that looked like it had been stolen from a European postcard and reassembled with too much money and not enough taste. Lyra stood in front of the mirror in her bedroom, barely recognizing herself. The dress was midnight blue, simple but elegant, hitting just above her knees. The stylist had chosen it. The shoes were Louboutin. Lyra had Googled them and nearly fainted at the price. Her hair was twisted up, exposing her neck. Diamond earrings that were probably worth more than her father's house glittered at her ears. She looked like someone else, someone who belonged in Ronan's world. A knock at the door. Ronan entered without waiting for permission, because apparently that was just how he operated. He stopped when he saw her. For the first time since they'd met, something shifted in his expression. His eyes traveled over her slowly. Not predatory, not sexual, just assessing. "You'll do," he said finally. "High praise. I don't give false compliments." He moved closer, and Lyra caught the scent of his cologne, something dark and expensive. "Remember the rules, smile, be polite. Let me handle any difficult conversations. And for God's sake, don't mention the contract." "I'm not an idiot." "Then stop acting nervous. These people are sharks. They'll smell fear and circle." "I'm not nervous." Ronan raised an eyebrow, reached out and took her hand, the first time he'd voluntarily touched her since the wedding. His fingers were warm, steady. "Your pulse is racing," he observed. Lyra pulled her hand back. "I'm fine." "Lyra," his voice softened slightly. "I know this is overwhelming, but you're stronger than you think. Just stay close to me tonight. Don't wander off. Don't trust anyone who's too friendly. And if someone makes you uncomfortable, find me immediately." The genuine concern in his voice caught her off guard. "Okay," she said quietly. Ronan nodded, offered his arm. "Shall we?" Lyra took it, and together they walked out to face the wolves. The gala was exactly as awful as she'd feared. Wall-to-wall people in clothes that cost more than most people made in a year. Champagne flowing like water, conversations that were all surface and no substance. Everyone smiling, everyone pretending, everyone performing, and everyone staring at her. Lyra felt their eyes like physical weight. The whispers followed her across the room. Who is she? Where did she come from? How did she land Ronan DeLuca? Ronan kept her close, one hand resting possessively at the small of her back. To anyone watching, they looked perfect together, the powerful man and his elegant wife. But Lyra could feel the calculation in every touch. This was performance. Theater. Nothing real. "Ronan, darling." A woman approached, tall, blonde, stunning in a red dress that looked like it had been painted on. She moved with the confidence of someone who knew exactly how beautiful she was, and exactly what power that gave her. Ronan's hand tightened slightly on Lyra's back. "Vivian," he said smoothly, "you look lovely." Vivian's smile was razor sharp. Her eyes slid to Lyra like a knife finding soft flesh. "And this must be the new Mrs. DeLuca." Her voice dripped honey and poison in equal measure. How unexpected. Lyra felt every muscle in her body tense. This was a test. She knew it instinctively. "Lyra," she said, offering her hand. "Nice to meet you." Vivian's handshake was brief, cold. "Vivian Russo. I'm an old friend of Ronan's. Very old. We go way back, don't we, darling?" The intimacy in that darling made Lyra's stomach turn. "We do," Ronan agreed, his tone giving nothing away. "I was so surprised to hear about the wedding." Vivian's eyes never left Lyra's face. "So sudden. So private. One might almost think you had something to hide." "One might think we value our privacy," Lyra heard herself say. Vivian's smile widened. "Of course! How romantic! A whirlwind courtship. Love at first sight, was it? Something like that? And what is it you do, Lyra, before you married into all this, I mean?" The question was designed to humiliate. Lyra could feel it. "I was between opportunities," she said carefully. "Ah, how fortunate that Ronan found you when he did." Vivian's gaze flicked to Ronan, something dark and knowing in her expression. "He does have a habit of collecting strays." Ronan's voice went cold. "Vivian." "What?" "I'm simply getting to know your bride. Surely that's allowed." Vivian touched Ronan's arm lightly, familiarly. We should have dinner sometime, all three of us. I'm dying to hear the whole story of how you two met. We'll see, Ronan said, which clearly meant no. Vivian laughed, a bright crystalline sound that somehow felt threatening. Well, it was lovely meeting you, Lyra. I'm sure we'll be seeing much more of each other. She drifted away, red dress cutting through the crowd like blood in water. Lyra released a breath she hadn't known she was holding. Who the hell was that? She asked quietly. Ronan's jaw was tight. Someone you need to avoid. Former girlfriend? Former fiancé. The word landed like a bomb. Lyra turned to stare at him. You were engaged to her? A long time ago. It didn't work out. Ronan, ici? Not here. His hand pressed more firmly against her back, guiding her toward the balcony, away from prying eyes and listening ears. Outside, the night air was cool. City lights spread out below them like fallen stars. Lyra gripped the railing and tried to process what she'd just learned. You should have told me, she said. It's not relevant. She clearly thinks it is. She looked at me like competition? Ronan moved to stand beside her, his expression unreadable in the darkness. She is competition. Vivian doesn't lose gracefully, and seeing me married to someone else, he shook his head. It won't sit well with her. So she's going to what? Try to destroy me? Probably. The casual way he said it made Lyra want to scream. And you didn't think that was worth mentioning before throwing me into a room with her? Would it have changed anything? You're here. You signed the contract. Vivian is a complication, but she's not the only one. Welcome to my world, Lyra. Everyone wants something. Everyone has an angle. Trust no one. Lyra looked at him, really looked at him. In the dim light, he seemed different somehow, harder, colder, more like the man the city whispered about in fear. Do you trust anyone? She asked quietly. Ronan was silent for a long moment, then, no, not anymore. Before Lyra could respond, the balcony doors burst open. A man stumbled out, drunk or high or both, followed by two security guards who looked deeply uncomfortable. There he is. The man pointed at Ronan, swaying. The great Ronan fucking DeLuca. Think you own the whole goddamn city, don't you? Ronan's entire demeanor shifted. The man who'd been almost vulnerable a moment ago vanished, replaced by something lethal and controlled. Marcus, he said quietly, you should go home. Should I? Should I really? Marcus laughed wildly. Or should I tell everyone here what you really are? What you did to... He didn't finish the sentence. Ronan moved faster than Lyra could track. One moment standing beside her, the next pressing Marcus against the wall with one hand around his throat. Enough, Ronan said, his voice deadly calm. The security guards stepped forward, but Ronan waved them back. You're going to leave, he continued, speaking to Marcus like he was explaining something to a slow child. You're going to get in a car. Go home. Sleep this off. And tomorrow, you're going to remember that public displays of stupidity have consequences. He released Marcus, who gasped and stumbled backward. This isn't over, Marcus wheezed. Yes, Ronan said softly. It is. The guards escorted Marcus away. Ronan straightened his cuffs, completely composed, like he hadn't just threatened a man's life. Then he turned to Lyra. She was staring at him, heart hammering, finally understanding exactly who she'd married. We should go back inside, Ronan said. What was that? A minor disruption. You threatened to kill him. I told him to leave. Ronan, Ishikros, Lyra. He stepped closer, and for the first time she saw the monster beneath the suit. This is who I am, what I do. You knew that when you signed the contract, so either accept it or spend the next year terrified. Your choice. He walked back inside without waiting for her response. Lyra stood alone on the balcony, shaking, and realized with horrible clarity that the contract wasn't the dangerous part. The dangerous part was that even after seeing what Ronan was capable of, even after watching him become something cold and violent and inhuman, part of her still wanted to follow him back inside. Lyra didn't sleep that night. She lay in her bed. The expensive sheets felt wrong against her skin, too smooth, too cold, and stared at the ceiling while her mind replayed the balcony scene over and over. The way Ronan's hand had closed around that man's throat, the absolute calm in his voice, The certainty that he would have done worse if the situation had required it. She'd married a monster. Except monsters didn't look at you the way Ronan had looked at her when she'd walked out in that blue dress. Monsters didn't warn you about dangerous people. Monsters didn't have that flicker of something almost human buried beneath layers of ice and violence. At 3 a.m., she gave up on sleep and went to the kitchen. The penthouse was dark except for the city lights bleeding through the windows. Lyra moved quietly, not wanting to wake Ronan, but when she rounded the corner, she found him already there. He sat at the kitchen island in pajama pants and nothing else, laptop open, nursing what looked like whiskey. His hair was disheveled. He looked tired in a way that suggested he didn't sleep much either. "Can't sleep?" he asked without looking up. "No." "There's tea in the cabinet, second shelf." Lyra hesitated, then moved to make herself chamomile. The silence stretched between them, not comfortable, but not entirely hostile either. "Marcus won't be a problem," Ronan said finally. "I've taken care of it." "Taken care of it how?" "He's been encouraged to take an extended vacation. Europe, probably, somewhere far away." "You mean you threatened him?" "I mean, I reminded him that discretion has value." Ronan finally looked at her, his gray eyes unreadable. "He gambles. Badly. His debts were mounting. I cleared them in exchange for his silence and absence." "You bought him off." "I solved a problem." He took a sip of whiskey. "That's what I do." Lyra poured hot water over her tea bag and watched the color bleed into the clear liquid. "What did he want to tell everyone about you?" "Nothing that matters." "Ronan?" "Leave it alone, Lyra." But she couldn't. Not after tonight. Not after seeing the mask slip. "Who are you?" she asked. "Really, not the polished version you show the world. Who are you when no one's watching?" Ronan closed his laptop slowly, set down his glass. When he spoke, his voice was very quiet. "You don't want to know the answer to that question." "Maybe I do." "No." He stood, and suddenly the kitchen felt smaller. "You want the romanticized version, the damaged man with a tragic past who's secretly good underneath. That's not who I am. I've done things that would keep you awake at night. Hurt people, destroyed lives, built an empire on blood and fear, so don't ask me who I am because you won't like the truth." The honesty was brutal. Lyra's hands tightened around her mug. "Then why did you marry me?" she asked. "If you're so terrible, why bring someone innocent into your world?" "Because I needed a wife who wouldn't fall in love with me." Ronan moved closer, and Lyra's breath caught. "Because everyone in my life wants something from me. Power, money, protection. You're the only person who wants nothing. That makes you safe." "Safe for who? You or me?" "Both of us." They stood there 3 feet apart, and Lyra felt the air between them charged with something dangerous, something neither of them could afford. "You should go to bed," Ronan said quietly. "Tomorrow's going to be difficult." "Why?" "Because Vivian will have spent all night planning how to destroy you, and she's very good at what she does." Lyra's stomach dropped. "What do I do?" "Survive. That's all anyone can do in this world." He walked past her, leaving her alone in the dark kitchen with cold tea and colder truths. Vivian struck 3 days later. Lyra was having lunch with Maria, the etiquette coach who'd apparently been reassigned as some kind of handler, when her phone buzzed. Unknown number. The message contained a single photo. Her father. Younger, maybe 15 years ago. Standing next to a man Lyra didn't recognize. Both of them in front of a warehouse, looking serious. Below the photo, "Ask your husband what happened here." Lyra's blood went cold. "Everything okay?" Maria asked, eyebrows raised. "Fine, just spam." Lyra deleted the message with shaking hands, but the photo had already burned itself into her brain. That night, she waited for Ronan to come home. When he finally appeared at 11, tie loosened, looking exhausted, she was waiting in the living room. "We need to talk," she said. Ronan stopped. Read something in her expression. "What happened?" "I got a message, a photo of my father." His entire demeanor shifted. "Show me." "I deleted it." "Lyra, it was him with some man I didn't recognize, in front of a warehouse. The message said to ask you what happened there." Ronan's jaw tightened. "Vivian, how do you know?" "Because she's the only one who would go there." He pulled out his phone, made a call. "Marcus, I need you to trace a number. I'll send you the details. He hung up, looked at Lyra. Forward me the message from your deleted folder. I permanently deleted it. Why? Because I didn't want to look at it. Lyra stood, anger finally breaking through. What was my father involved in, Ronan? What aren't you telling me? It's complicated. Then uncomplicate it. Ronan was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, Your father worked as a mediator between my father's organization and several others. When tensions rose, he helped negotiate peace. He saved lives, Lyra, a lot of them, by working for criminals, by preventing wars. There's a difference? Yes, there is. Ronan's voice was sharp now. Your father was a good man in an impossible situation. He did what he had to do to keep people alive. Don't let Vivian twist that into something ugly. How do you know it was Vivian? Because this is exactly what she does. She finds your weakness and exploits it. She knows you don't trust me yet, so she's planting doubts, making you question everything. Lyra wanted to believe him, but the seed of suspicion had already taken root. What happened at that warehouse? She asked. Nothing that concerns you. My father is in the photo. It concerns me. Lyra says, Tell me the truth, or I walk. The threat hung in the air. Ronan looked at her for a long moment, and something in his expression fractured. A deal went bad, he said finally. 15 years ago. My father was trying to consolidate power. Your father was negotiating terms. Someone betrayed the location. Rival gang hit the warehouse. 7 men died. Lyra's stomach turned. Was my father there when it happened? No, he'd left an hour before. Did he know it was going to happen? No. Ronan's voice was firm. Your father was clean, Lyra. He didn't have blood on his hands. He walked away from my father's organization after that night. That's why we owed him. Because he tried to save people and almost got killed for it. The explanation should have been comforting. Instead, it just raised more questions. Why didn't you tell me this before? Lyra asked. Because it doesn't matter. Your father's past is dead. This marriage is about your future. Everything matters if someone's using it against me. Ronan ran a hand through his hair, frustrated. What do you want me to say? That my world is dangerous? That people will use your history to hurt you? You already knew that. It was in the contract. The contract didn't mention that my father worked for your father, that our families were already connected. Would it have changed your decision? The question landed hard. Lyra wanted to say yes, wanted to claim she would have walked away if she'd known, but they both knew she was drowning in debt with nowhere else to turn. I don't know, she said quietly. Ronan's expression softened slightly. I'm not the enemy here, Lyra. Vivian is. And she won't stop. This photo is just the beginning. What does she want? To prove you're not good enough for me, to make you run. And when you do, she'll be there to pick up the pieces. You mean pick you up? Something like that. Lyra sank onto the couch, exhausted. I can't do this. I'm not built for this level of psychological warfare. Yes, you are. Ronan sat down across from her, elbows on his knees. You survived burying your father alone. You signed a contract with a stranger to save yourself. You walked into a room full of predators and held your ground with Vivian. You're stronger than you think. I don't feel strong. I feel like I'm drowning. Then let me help you. Lyra looked up, surprised. Ronan's expression was serious, almost gentle. This is still a partnership, he said. I protect you. You play your role. That's the agreement. But protection means I need to know when someone's coming at you. So next time you get a message like that, don't delete it. Show me immediately. Okay, Lyra said quietly. And Lyra? Ronan waited until she met his eyes. Your father was a good man. Don't let anyone make you doubt that. Something in her chest cracked. She nodded, not trusting her voice. Ronan stood, heading for his room. At the doorway, he paused. Get some sleep. Tomorrow we're going shopping. Shopping? You need to look perfect for the Russo charity dinner next week. And if we're going to face Vivian on her own turf, you need armor. He disappeared down the hall, leaving Lyra alone with too many questions and not enough answers. The next message came 2 days later. Lyra was trying on dresses under the critical eye of Ronan's stylist when her phone buzzed. Your father didn't die of a heart attack. Ask Ronan about the autopsy report. Her hand started shaking so badly she dropped the phone. Mrs. DeLuca? The stylist looked concerned. Are you all right? Fine, just give me a minute. Lyra locked herself in the bathroom and read the message again and again. Her father had died of a heart attack. The hospital had confirmed it, natural causes. Sudden, but not suspicious. Except now someone was saying otherwise. She called Ronan. I'm in a meeting, he answered, voice clipped. It's important. Something in her tone made him pause. Give me 2 minutes. He called back in 90 seconds. What happened? Another message. Lyra read it to him word for word. The silence on the other end was deafening. Ronan? I'm here. Is it true? Was there an autopsy report? Yes. Lyra's world tilted. Why didn't you tell me? Because it said exactly what the doctors said. Heart attack, natural causes. There was nothing suspicious about it. Then why mention an autopsy at all? Because the hospital runs them automatically in certain cases. Your father died suddenly. It's standard procedure. Can I see it? Lyra, can I see the report, Ronan? Another long silence. Then, I'll have it sent to you. You have it. Why do you have my father's autopsy report? Because I make it my business to know things that might affect me. And your father's death, right before I offered you the contract, was relevant. The casualness of it made Lyra sick. So you investigated him, before approaching me. Of course I did. Did you think I married you without doing research? I thought you married me because you owed my father a debt. I did, but I'm not stupid, Lyra. I don't bring people into my life without vetting them first. She felt violated, exposed. What else do you know about me? Everything. No apology, no guilt. Your bank statements, your employment history, your social media, your medical records, everything. That's smart, that's what that is. Ronan's voice was hard now. You think Vivian isn't doing the same thing? You think every enemy I have isn't trying to find your weakness? I needed to know what I was working with. And I needed to make sure you weren't a plant sent to destroy me. A plant? You thought I was… Lyra couldn't even finish the sentence. I thought you might be, until I verified otherwise. Go to hell, Ronan. She hung up. The phone rang immediately. She ignored it. It rang again and again. Finally, she answered. What? Don't hang up on me again. His voice was cold. I'll send you the autopsy report. It will confirm everything I've told you. Your father died of natural causes. Vivian is playing mind games, and you're letting her win. Maybe she's the one telling the truth. She's not. How do I know that? How do I know you're not the one lying? Because I have nothing to gain from lying to you. Our contract is binding whether you trust me or not. In 11 months, you walk away with $2 million regardless. But Vivian, she gets exactly what she wants if she drives a wedge between us. The logic was sound. Lyra hated that it was sound. Send me the report, she said. I will. And Lyra? What? Stop answering messages from unknown numbers. Whoever's sending these has your private number, which means someone close to you is compromised. Change your number tonight. I'll have a new phone delivered within the hour. He hung up before she could respond. Lyra stared at her reflection in the bathroom mirror. She looked pale, tired, like she was coming apart at the seams. The stylist knocked gently. Mrs. DeLuca, should we continue? Lyra straightened, fixed her expression, became the woman Ronan needed her to be. Yes, she called. Let's continue. The autopsy report arrived that evening. Lyra read it 3 times, searching for anything suspicious. But it was exactly what Ronan had said. Heart attack, natural causes, no signs of foul play. So why had Vivian sent that message? To plant doubt. To make Lyra question everything. And it was working. She found Ronan in his office, surrounded by paperwork and looking like he hadn't slept in days. It's clean, she said, holding up the report. I told you it would be. Why does Vivian hate you so much? Ronan looked up, surprised by the question. That's what you want to know? If I'm going to survive the next 11 months, I need to understand the people trying to destroy me. He studied her for a moment, then gestured to the chair across from his desk. Sit. Lyra sat. Ronan leaned back, fingers steepled. Vivian and I were engaged 6 years ago. Our families arranged it, merging two powerful organizations into one. It was strategic, practical, good for business. But you didn't love her. No, and she didn't love me. But Vivian expected certain things: power, status, control. When I started making decisions without consulting her, she took it personally. What kind of decisions? The kind that kept people alive. Ronan's jaw tightened. My father's organization was built on violence, fear, brutality. I wanted to transition into legitimate business, real estate, tech investments, clean money. Vivian saw it as weakness. She wanted the empire as it was, bloody and powerful and absolutely ruthless. So you broke the engagement. So I broke the engagement, and she's been trying to destroy me ever since. Lyra processed this. Why marry me then? If you wanted to go legitimate, why get involved in a fake marriage that looks suspicious? Because certain business relationships still require the appearance of stability. A wife signals permanence, responsibility. It opens doors that would otherwise stay closed. He paused. And because Vivian can't stand losing, seeing me married to someone else, especially someone she views as beneath me, is the ultimate humiliation. So I'm a weapon. Against her. You're a shield. There's a difference. Is there? Ronan's expression softened slightly. I know this isn't easy, but you're doing better than you realize. The fact that you're here, asking questions instead of running, proves you're stronger than Vivian thinks. I'm not strong. I'm trapped. No, you're choosing to stay. That's different. The distinction felt meaningless, but Lyra didn't have the energy to argue. The Russo dinner is in 3 days, Ronan continued. Vivian will escalate before then. More messages, more photos, maybe worse. Are you ready? No. Good. Fear keeps you sharp. He stood, moving around the desk. But Lyra? Whatever she sends you, whatever she says, remember that she needs you to break. Don't give her the satisfaction. And if I can't handle it, then you come to me. That's what partners do. The word partners sounded almost real when he said it. The third message arrived the morning of the Russo dinner. Lyra woke to find it waiting, a video file from another unknown number. She almost didn't open it, almost called Ronan immediately. But curiosity won. The video was surveillance footage, grainy, time-stamped from 15 years ago. A warehouse. Men arguing. Lyra recognized her father immediately, younger but unmistakable. He was shouting at someone off-screen, angry, desperate, then gunfire. The footage cut to black. Lyra felt bile rise in her throat. She played it again and again, trying to see details, trying to understand. The timestamp matched the night Ronan had mentioned, the warehouse where 7 men died. But her father was there. Ronan had said he left an hour before. But here he was, in the footage, right before the shooting started. Ronan had lied to her. Lyra's hands were shaking so badly she could barely hold the phone. She forwarded the video to Ronan without a message, then sat on her bed trying to breathe through the panic. 5 minutes later, Ronan burst into her room without knocking. Where did you get this? His face was white. Unknown number, this morning. Did you open it on your phone or... Yes, my phone. What does that matter? Ronan swore viciously, pulled out his own phone and made a call. The video was open. Yes, her device. I need a full sweep. Now. He hung up, looked at Lyra. Get dressed. We're leaving. What? No, I want answers. You said my father left before the shooting. The footage is edited. Vivian spliced together different timestamps to make it look like your father was there when it happened. He wasn't. How do I know you're telling the truth? Because I have the full footage, the unedited version. Your father left at 8:47 p.m. The shooting happened at 10:15. That video is a lie designed to make you doubt me. Lyra wanted to believe him, but trust was bleeding out of her faster than she could stop it. Show me the full footage. Fine. Tonight, after the dinner. But right now, we need to leave. Opening that video on your phone gave Vivian access to your location, your contacts, possibly your messages. We need to move you somewhere secure until we can sanitize the device. You're being paranoid. I'm being careful. There's a difference. Ronan grabbed her arm, not rough, but firm. Lyra, please, trust me on this. Get dressed, pack a bag. We leave in 10 minutes. Something in his voice cut through her panic. Fear. Real fear. She nodded. Ishik. They didn't go to the dinner. Instead, Ronan drove them to a safe house. A modest apartment in a neighborhood that looked nothing like his usual world. No doorman, no luxury, just plain walls and functional furniture and security that Lyra couldn't see but knew was there. You'll stay here until I can verify the threat level, Ronan said, setting her bag down. What about the Russo dinner? I'll make excuses. Vivian will know she got to me. I don't care. Ronan turned to face her, and Lyra saw genuine worry in his eyes. Your safety matters more than appearances. Since when? Since you became my wife. The words hung between them, heavy with implications neither of them wanted to examine. I'll bring the full footage tonight, Ronan continued. You'll see your father leave before the shooting. You'll see that I've been telling the truth. And if the footage is also edited, how do I know what's real anymore? Ronan stepped closer, close enough that Lyra could feel heat radiating off him, close enough to see the exhaustion carved into his face. You don't, he said quietly. That's the worst part about my world. Truth is flexible. Everyone lies. Everyone manipulates. The only thing you can do is choose who to believe. How do I do that? By watching what people do, not what they say. He reached out slowly, giving her time to pull away. When she didn't, his hand cupped her face gently. Vivian sends you messages designed to destroy you. I'm here, putting you in a safe house, trying to protect you. Actions, Lyra, not words. His thumb brushed her cheekbone, and Lyra's breath stuttered. This was breaking the rules. No touching, no intimacy. That was the contract. But Ronan's hand was warm against her skin, and she was so tired of being afraid, and for just a moment she wanted to lean into someone who wasn't actively trying to hurt her. Ronan. His phone rang. The moment shattered. Ronan stepped back, answering. What? When? I'll be there in 20 minutes. He hung up, his expression grim. What happened? Lyra asked. That was my head of security. Someone tried to breach the penthouse while we were gone. They didn't get in, but... He stopped, jaw working. But what? But they left something, a gift, for you. Lyra's stomach dropped. What kind of gift? Your father's wedding ring. The room tilted. That's impossible. He was buried with it. I know. Understanding hit like a freight train. Someone dug him up. Someone went to the cemetery and we don't know that yet. It could be a replica or something he lost before he died, but either way, it's a message. What message? Ronan's eyes were cold as winter. That nothing is sacred, not even the dead. Lyra sank onto the couch, her whole body shaking. This wasn't just mind games anymore. This was violence, desecration. I want to see it, she said. Lyra, I want to see the ring. I need to know if it's real. Ronan nodded slowly. Okay, but I'm coming with you, and we're bringing security. I don't care, just... Her voice broke. Just take me to see it. The ring sat in an evidence bag on Ronan's desk, gleaming dully under the office lights. Lyra knew immediately it was real. The scratch on the band from where her father had caught it on a fence when she was 12. The inscription inside, Forever Marie, her mother's name. The tiny imperfection in the gold that the jeweler had offered to fix, but her father had refused, saying it made the ring unique. This was her father's ring, which meant someone had taken it from his grave. Lyra backed away from the desk, bile rising. I'm going to be sick. She barely made it to the bathroom before she was retching into the toilet, stomach heaving even though there was nothing left to come up. Ronan appeared in the doorway with a glass of water. Didn't speak, just waited. When she could finally breathe again, Lyra took the water with shaking hands. Who would do this? She whispered. Someone trying to break you. It's working. I know. Ronan crouched down so they were eye level. But we're going to find who did this, and when we do, I'm going to make sure they regret it. The promise in his voice was terrifying and comforting. What if it's Vivian? Then Vivian is about to discover why people fear the DeLuca name. Lyra met his eyes, saw something lethal there, something that should have scared her. Instead, she felt protected. I want to go back to the safe house, she said quietly. Okay. Ronan helped her up. His hand stayed at the small of her back as they left the office, solid and steady. and Lyra found herself leaning into the touch despite all the rules they'd agreed to. In the car, she asked, "Why are you doing this?" "Doing what?" "Protecting me. You could just pay me off, end the contract early, get someone easier." "I don't want someone easier." "Why not?" Ronan was quiet for a long moment. Then, "Because you're real. Everyone else in my life is performing, playing angles, but you're just trying to survive. That's rare." "I'm not special, Ronan." "Yes, you are." The certainty in his voice made something in Lyra's chest crack open. They drove the rest of the way in silence, but when they reached the safe house and Ronan walked her to the door, Lyra turned before going inside. "Thank you," she said. "For what?" "For not making me face this alone." Ronan's expression softened. "That's what partners do, remember?" He left before she could respond. Lyra locked herself inside the safe house and finally let herself cry, for her father, for the grave that had been violated, for the life she'd lost and the one she'd stumbled into. And somewhere in the grief and fear and exhaustion, she realized something terrifying. She was starting to trust Ronan DeLuca, the man who'd bought her like property, who'd investigated every corner of her life, who operated in shadows and violence and blood. She was starting to trust him, and that was the most dangerous thing of all. Watch. The footage arrived at midnight. Ronan came personally, a laptop under his arm and shadows under his eyes that suggested he hadn't slept in days. "Ready?" he asked. Lyra nodded. They sat side by side on the couch while Ronan pulled up the file. The timestamp read 7:30 p.m., 90 minutes before the shooting. The video showed the warehouse. Her father was there, arguing with several men. The conversation was heated, hands gesturing wildly, but Lyra could see her father trying to de-escalate. At 8:47 p.m., he walked out, got in his car, drove away. The timestamp continued. 9 p.m., 9:30, 10. At 10:15, the shooting started. Muzzle flashes, bodies dropping, chaos. But her father's car was long gone. Ronan stopped the video. Vivian took footage from 9:45 and spliced it with footage from 10:15. Made it look like your father was there during the shooting, but he wasn't. He left over an hour before. Lyra stared at the frozen screen. "She's really trying to destroy me." "Yes." "Why? What did I ever do to her?" "You exist. That's enough." Ronan closed the laptop. "To Vivian, you're the woman who took what she thinks belongs to her. It doesn't matter that our engagement was a business arrangement. It doesn't matter that I never loved her. In her mind, I was hers, and you stole me." "I didn't steal anything. This is fake." "She doesn't know that." Lyra turned to look at him. "Does anyone? No, it's fake, I mean." "No. As far as the world is concerned, we're married and in love." "Are we doing a good job? Selling it, I mean." Ronan's eyes searched her face. "What do you think?" "I think—" Lyra stopped, choosing words carefully. "I think it's getting harder to remember where the performance ends." The admission hung between them. "Lyra, you said not to fall in love with you, that it wouldn't end well." "I meant it." "Then why do you keep looking at me like that?" "Like what?" "Like I'm not just part of a contract." Ronan stood abruptly, putting distance between them. "We should maintain boundaries, for both our sakes." "That's not an answer." "It's the only answer I can give you." He moved toward the door, then stopped. "I'm assigning permanent security. 2 guards outside, rotating shifts. Don't leave without them." "For how long?" "Until whoever's targeting you is dealt with." "And how will you deal with them?" Ronan's smile was cold. "The way I deal with all my problems. Efficiently." He left, and Lyra sat alone in the safe house, staring at the closed laptop and wondering when exactly the lines had started blurring. When she'd stopped seeing Ronan as the enemy and started seeing him as something else. Something dangerous. Something that felt suspiciously like hope. Bah! 3 days later, Lyra received a phone call that changed everything. The number was local, but unfamiliar. Against her better judgment, she answered. "Mrs. DeLuca?" A woman's voice. Professional. Cold. "Yes?" "My name is Evelyn Kane. I have information about your father's death. Information I think you'll want to hear." Lyra's blood went cold. Who are you? Someone who knew your father. Someone who knows the truth about what happened 15 years ago. A pause. And someone who knows what Ronan DeLuca is really hiding from you. I'm not interested in... Your father didn't die of a heart attack, Mrs. DeLuca. He was murdered, and your husband knows exactly who killed him. The world stopped. You're lying. Am I? Then why has Ronan been so careful to control what information you see? Why did he have your father's autopsy report? Why is he keeping you isolated in a safe house instead of letting you investigate for yourself? Because someone's threatening me. Because he's afraid you'll discover the truth. That his family built their empire by sacrificing innocent men, men like your father. Lyra's hands were shaking. What do you want? To help you. Meet me tomorrow. I'll show you evidence Ronan has been hiding. Text messages from the night your father died. Financial records. Proof that everything he's told you is a lie. Why would you help me? Because I lost someone too. Someone your husband's family destroyed, and I want him to pay. Evelyn's voice hardened. Tomorrow, 3 p.m. I'll text you the address. Come alone. If you bring Ronan or his security, you'll never learn the truth. The line went dead. Lyra sat frozen, phone pressed to her ear, mind racing. This could be a trap, another one of Vivian's games. Or it could be the truth. The truth Ronan had been hiding from the beginning. Her phone buzzed, a text from the same number, 1247 Industrial Way, 3 p.m. Come alone or don't come at all. Lyra stared at the address. Every instinct screamed at her to tell Ronan, to show him the message, to let him handle it. But what if he was the one lying? What if everything, the contract, the protection, the soft moments, was just an elaborate manipulation? What if her father really had been murdered? And what if Ronan knew exactly who'd done it? Lyra looked at the address again. Tomorrow, 3 p.m. Alone. She should tell Ronan. She should follow the rules. She should trust the man who'd shown her nothing but protection and honesty. Instead, she typed back, I'll be there. And with that single message, Lyra Vale stepped past the point of no return, into territory where trust was currency, truth was weapon, and one wrong move could destroy everything she thought she knew. Lyra spent the night staring at the address on her phone screen, memorizing numbers she wished she could forget. 1247 Industrial Way. 3 p.m. Come alone. She knew it was stupid, reckless, exactly the kind of move that got people killed in Ronan's world. But the question Evelyn Kane had planted kept growing roots in her mind, spreading like poison through every conversation she'd had with Ronan, every careful answer he'd given, every truth he'd wrapped in just enough honesty to make the lies invisible. Your husband knows exactly who killed him. At 2:30 the next afternoon, Lyra told the security guard she was taking a nap. She locked her bedroom door, changed into dark jeans and a hoodie, and climbed out the bathroom window onto the fire escape like some kind of amateur criminal. Her hands were shaking so badly she nearly lost her grip on the rusted metal ladder. The drop to the alley below was 8 feet. Lyra hung from the lowest rung, took a breath, and let go. She hit the pavement hard, pain shooting through her ankles, but nothing broke. She stood, pulled the hoodie up over her hair, and started walking. 3 blocks later, she caught a taxi. 1247 Industrial Way, she told the driver. He gave her a look in the rearview mirror. You sure? That's not a great neighborhood. I'm sure. The drive took 20 minutes. With every mile, Lyra's stomach twisted tighter. She should turn back. She should call Ronan. She should do literally anything except walk into a warehouse district alone to meet a stranger who claimed her husband was a murderer. But she didn't turn back. Because buried beneath the fear was something worse, doubt. Doubt that had been planted by Vivian and watered by every evasive answer Ronan had given. Doubt that had grown into a thorny, vicious thing that whispered, maybe he's been lying the whole time. The taxi pulled up to a building that looked like it had been abandoned for years. Broken windows, graffiti on the walls. No cars in the lot except one, a plain sedan that could have belonged to anyone. You want me to wait? The driver asked. No, I'm good. Lady, seriously, this place... I said I'm good. Lyra paid, got out, and watched the taxi drive away. The moment it disappeared around the corner, she felt the weight of how alone she was. No security, no backup, no Ronan, just her and whatever truth or trap waited inside. She walked to the entrance. The door was unlocked. Inside, the warehouse was exactly what she'd expected. Concrete floors, dim lighting from windows too dirty to let in much sun, and the smell of rust and decay. Her footsteps echoed in the empty space. "Mrs. DeLuca!" Lyra spun. A woman emerged from the shadows. Mid-40s, elegant in a way that looked expensive even in jeans and a sweater. Dark hair pulled back, eyes that had seen too much and stopped caring. "Evelyn Kane," the woman said. Not a question. "You said you had evidence." "I do. But first, I'd need to know something." Evelyn moved closer, studying Lyra's face. "Do you love him? Your husband?" "That's none of your business." "It's absolutely my business. Because what I'm about to show you will destroy either your marriage or your husband, possibly both. And I need to know if you're strong enough to handle it." Lyra's jaw tightened. "Show me the evidence or I'm leaving." Evelyn smiled, cold and sharp. "You're tougher than you look. Good. You'll need that." She pulled out a tablet, tapped the screen, and handed it to Lyra. "Text messages," Evelyn said. "From the night your father died. Read them." Lyra looked down at the screen. The conversation was between two unknown numbers, but the context was clear. It's done. No witnesses. Clean. The daughter? Taken care of. She won't be a problem. The timestamp, the exact night her father had died. Lyra's hands started shaking. "Who sent these?" "Keep reading." She scrolled down. More messages. Logistics. Confirmations. And then, at the bottom, a name. R. DeLuca sends his regards. The tablet nearly slipped from her fingers. "No," she whispered. "I'm sorry," Evelyn said, and she actually sounded like she meant it. "I know what it's like to discover the person you trusted is a monster. This could be fake. Photoshopped? Or, it's not fake. I had 3 independent forensic analysts verify the metadata. Those messages are real, and they were sent the night your father died." Lyra's mind was racing, trying to find an explanation that didn't end with Ronan being a murderer. It says R. DeLuca. That could be his father. His father's been dead for years. You could have... His father died 8 years ago. Your father died 6 months ago. Evelyn's voice was gentle but relentless. This was Ronan, and I can prove it. She took the tablet back, pulled up another file. Financial records. A payment of $50,000 from one of Ronan's shell companies to a known contract killer, dated 2 days before your father's death. The numbers swam before Lyra's eyes. "Why?" she heard herself ask. "Why would he kill my father and then offer to marry me?" "Guilt. Control. Atonement." Evelyn shrugged. "Maybe all 3. Rich men like Ronan DeLuca don't think like normal people. They see problems, they eliminate them. Then they throw money at the aftermath and call it fixing things." "What problem was my father?" "Your father knew things. About the old alliances. About where the bodies were buried. Literally and figuratively. Ronan's been trying to go legitimate for years, clean up the family business. But your father was a loose end. Someone who could testify, who could connect current operations to past crimes. So Ronan eliminated him." Lyra backed away, her whole body rejecting what she was hearing. "You're lying. This is Vivian, isn't it? Another mind game. This has nothing to do with Vivian Russo." Evelyn's eyes hardened. "This is about justice, about making Ronan DeLuca pay for what he's done." "Who did he kill? You said you lost someone." "My husband, Marcus Kane. He worked for Ronan's father. When he tried to leave the organization, when he threatened to talk to federal investigators," her voice cracked, "they made it look like a suicide, pills and alcohol. But Marcus never drank, never touched drugs. And I know, it was Ronan who gave the order." "You don't know that, but I know exactly that. Just like I know he killed your father. Just like I know he married you to keep you close, keep you controlled, make sure you never discovered the truth." Lyra's knees went weak. She leaned against a concrete pillar, trying to breathe through the panic. "What do you want from me?" she asked. "Help me destroy him." "What? You're his wife. You have access to his home, his files, his life. Help me find evidence that will stand up in court. Help me put Ronan DeLuca in prison where he belongs." "I can't." "Yes, you can, and you should. Your father deserves justice. If I do this, Ronan will know. He'll what? Kill you too? Evelyn stepped closer. You're already in danger, Mrs. DeLuca. The moment you signed that contract, the moment you walked into his world, you put a target on your back. The only question is whether you're going to be a victim or a survivor. Lyra closed her eyes, tried to think, but her mind kept showing her images. Ronan's hand on her face, his voice saying, I protect you. The way he'd looked at her in the safe house like she mattered. Was it all a lie? Had everything been manipulation from the very beginning? I need time, she said. You don't have time. Ronan probably already knows you're here. His people are everywhere. Then why aren't they stopping this conversation? Evelyn smiled grimly. Because I have insurance. Files set to automatically upload to federal servers if anything happens to me. Ronan can't touch me without destroying himself. But you? You're expendable. The word landed like a punch. Expendable. 24 hours, Lyra said. Give me 24 hours to think. 12. After that, I go to the FBI with what I have. It might not be enough to convict him, but it'll be enough to start an investigation. And when that happens, you'll be dragged into it whether you help me or not. Fine. 12 hours. Evelyn pulled out a phone, a burner from the look of it, and handed it to Lyra. My number's programmed in. When you're ready to do the right thing, call me. Lyra took the phone, shoved it in her pocket, and turned to leave. Mrs. DeLuca? She stopped but didn't turn around. I know you think you might love him, Evelyn said quietly, but love doesn't change what someone is. It just makes it hurt more when you finally see the truth. Lyra walked out without responding. True key. She made it 2 blocks before she had to stop and throw up in an alley. Her hands braced against brick that smelled like piss and rot, stomach heaving, mind fragmenting into 1,000 sharp pieces that wouldn't fit back together. Ronan killed her father. Or Evelyn was lying. Or the truth was somewhere in between, buried in layers of deception so deep Lyra would never find her way out. She pulled out her regular phone with shaking hands and called the only person she could trust. Except she didn't know if she could trust him anymore. Ronan answered on the first ring. Where are you? Not hello. Not are you okay? Just where are you? Like he already knew something was wrong. I needed air, Lyra said. Her voice sounded thin, broken. You climbed out a window. The security cameras caught you. Of course they did. I'll come back. I needed space. Lyra, where are you right now? Does it matter? Yes. Because you're in danger and you're being reckless, and He stopped, took a breath. When he spoke again, his voice was controlled. Tell me where you are. I'll come get you. I need to know something first. Silence. Did you kill my father? The question hung in the air for 3 seconds that felt like hours. No, Ronan said finally. Did you have someone kill him? No. Did you order his death in any way? Lyra, where is this coming from? Answer the question. No. I did not order your father's death. I did not arrange it. I did not want him dead. He was... Ronan's voice roughened. He was a good man who got caught in a bad situation. I had no reason to hurt him. Then why did you pay $50,000 to a contract killer 2 days before he died? The silence this time was deafening. Who told you that? Ronan asked quietly. Is it true? Lyra, I need you to listen very carefully. Whoever told you that is lying, or they have incomplete information, or they're trying to manipulate you into doing something dangerous. So you didn't make that payment. I made a payment to someone, but not for what you think. Then what? I can't tell you over the phone. Where are you? You're not denying it. I'm not having this conversation until you're somewhere safe. Now tell me where you are before... Lyra hung up. Her phone rang immediately. She ignored it. It rang again and again. Finally, she turned it off completely. The burner phone Evelyn had given her felt heavy in her pocket. 12 hours to decide. Help Evelyn destroy Ronan, or trust the man who'd just admitted to making a suspicious payment right before her father died. Lyra started walking. No destination, just movement, because standing still meant thinking, and thinking meant facing a truth she wasn't ready for. She made it 6 blocks before a black car pulled up beside her. The window rolled down. Not Ronan. Vivian Russo. "Get in," Vivian said. "Go to hell. I'm trying to help you. I don't need your help." "Yes, you do. Because you just left a meeting with Evelyn Kane, and that means you're about 10 minutes away from making the biggest mistake of your life." Lyra stopped walking, turned. "How do you know about Evelyn?" "Because I've been tracking her for months. She's not who you think she is." Vivian leaned across the passenger seat, her expression serious. "Get in the car, Lyra, please, before Ronan's people find you and this all gets much, much worse." "Why would you help me?" "Because believe it or not, I don't want you dead. Humiliated, maybe. Divorced and forgotten, definitely. But not dead. And Evelyn Kane is going to get you killed." Lyra looked at the car, at Vivian's face, at the street around her where anyone could be watching. She got in. Vivian drove in silence for 5 minutes before pulling into an underground parking garage. "Where are we?" Lyra asked. "Somewhere Ronan's security won't look." Vivian killed the engine, turned to face her. Evelyn Kane's husband didn't commit suicide. That part is true. He was murdered, but not by Ronan. Then who? Marcus Kane was an accountant, a very good one. He worked for several criminal organizations, keeping their books clean, hiding money. But he got greedy, started embezzling millions of dollars over several years. Vivian pulled out her own tablet, brought up financial records. When Ronan's father discovered the theft, he ordered Marcus killed. Not Ronan. The father. This was 12 years ago. Ronan was 23 years old and barely involved in the family business. But Evelyn said whatever she needed to say to turn you into a weapon. She spent the last decade building a case against Ronan, trying to prove he's responsible for crimes his father committed. But she doesn't have evidence, so she's manufacturing it. The text messages, fake, good fakes, I'll admit, but fake nonetheless. Vivian swiped through screens. I had them analyzed by people who actually know what they're doing, not whatever cut-rate forensic analysts Evelyn hired. The metadata's been altered. The messages were created last month and backdated. Lyra's head was spinning. "Why are you showing me this?" "Because I don't like Evelyn Kane. She's sloppy and desperate people get everyone around them killed." Vivian's eyes were hard. "I may hate that Ronan married you, but I hate the idea of him being destroyed by a liar even more. This could all be fake too. You could be lying just like she might be lying." "I could be. But ask yourself this. Who has more to gain? Evelyn, who wants revenge for a husband who got himself killed by stealing from criminals? Or me, who walked away from Ronan years ago and has nothing to prove? You wanted to destroy me 2 weeks ago. I wanted to embarrass you, make you run back to whatever small life you came from. I didn't want to weaponize you against a man I once cared about." Vivian leaned back, some of the hardness leaving her face. "Say what you want about Ronan, but he's not a murderer. He's brutal. He's ruthless. He's eliminated business rivals and destroyed careers. But he doesn't kill civilians. That's a line he won't cross." "How do I know that?" "Because if he did, I'd be dead. After I broke our engagement, I spent 6 months trying to ruin him out of spite. I spread rumors, sabotaged deals, turned business partners against him. If he killed people who threatened him, I wouldn't have survived the year." The logic was sound. Too sound. Lyra pressed her palms against her eyes, trying to organize thoughts that wouldn't stay still. "What about the payment?" she asked. "Ronan admitted to paying someone right before my father died." "Did he say who?" "No." "Then ask him. Actually ask him, instead of running to strangers with axes to grind." "I can't trust him." "You can't trust anyone in this world. But you can look at patterns. Ronan spent 6 months protecting you. Evelyn spent 6 minutes trying to turn you into a suicide bomber aimed at your own husband." Vivian's voice softened. "Who's earned more credibility?" Lyra didn't have an answer. "What does Evelyn want me to do?" she asked finally. "Probably access Ronan's files. Get evidence of criminal activity. Maybe wear a wire to record conversations." Vivian shook her head. "And the moment you do any of that, you become a liability to everyone. Ronan will see you as a traitor. The FBI will see you as an accomplice. And Evelyn will disappear the second she has what she needs, leaving you to burn. So what am I supposed to do? Go home. Talk to your husband. Ask him directly about the payment. If he lies, leave. If he tells the truth... Vivian paused. Well, then you'll have to decide if you can live with whatever that truth is. Lyra looked at her, really looked at her. Why are you helping me? Because I'm a bitch, not a monster. And because watching Ronan actually care about someone after all these years is... She stopped, shook her head. It's rare. Worth protecting, maybe. You think he cares about me? I think he's terrified right now. Which means, yes, he cares. Ronan doesn't do fear for people who don't matter. Vivian started the car. I'll drive you to the safe house. You walk in, you talk to him, you get your answers. Whatever you decide after that is your choice. But Lyra? Yeah? Don't trust Evelyn Kane. That woman has nothing to lose. People with nothing to lose are the most dangerous kind. Ronan was waiting outside the safe house when they pulled up. He stood on the sidewalk, no jacket despite the cold, and the moment he saw Lyra and Vivian's car, his expression went through about 6 emotions in 3 seconds. Relief, confusion, anger, fear. The car stopped. Lyra got out slowly. Thank you, she said to Vivian. Don't thank me. Just don't be an idiot. The car pulled away, leaving Lyra alone with her husband. For a long moment, neither of them moved. Then Ronan crossed the distance in 3 strides and pulled her into his arms. Not gently, not carefully. Hard enough that Lyra felt the air leave her lungs, felt his heart hammering against her cheek, felt the tremor in his hands as they gripped her back. Don't ever do that again, he said into her hair. His voice was rough, wrecked. Don't ever disappear like that. Lyra's arms hung at her sides. She didn't return the embrace. After a moment, Ronan seemed to realize. He stepped back, his expression shuddering. You met with Evelyn Kane, he said. How did you... Because I'm not stupid, and because she's been trying to get to you for weeks. Ronan ran a hand through his hair. What did she tell you? That you killed my father? He flinched like she'd hit him. And you believed her? I don't know what to believe anymore. She had evidence, text messages, financial records. All fake. That's what Vivian said. You talked to Vivian too? Ronan laughed, but there was no humor in it. Christ, Lyra. Anyone else you want to consult before actually talking to me? You're not exactly forthcoming with information. Because some things are complicated, because some truths require context you don't have. Then give me context, Lyra's voice cracked. Stop protecting me from information and just tell me the truth. Did you pay someone $50,000 2 days before my father died? Ronan's jaw worked. Yes. The admission hit like a physical blow. Why? Because your father was being threatened. Someone from his past wanted money. A lot of money. Money he didn't have, so I paid them off. Who? A man named Viktor Sokolov. He ran a smuggling operation your father helped dismantle 20 years ago. Viktor went to prison, got out 6 months before your father died, started demanding payment for damages to his business. Ronan pulled out his phone, showed Lyra a photo. A hard-looking man with prison tattoos and dead eyes. Viktor was going to kill your father if he didn't pay. So I paid instead. $50,000 to make him disappear. And he did. Moved to Toronto. Died of liver failure 3 months ago. How do I know you're telling the truth? Because I can prove it. Ronan scrolled through his phone, pulled up email records, bank statements, documentation. Here's the payment. Here's the correspondence with Viktor's lawyer. Here's his death certificate. Lyra looked at the evidence. It was thorough, detailed, exactly what Ronan would have if he was telling the truth, or exactly what he'd create if he was lying. Why didn't you tell me this before? She asked. Because your father made me promise not to tell you. He didn't want you to know he'd been in danger. Didn't want you to spend your life looking over your shoulder. Ronan's voice softened. He wanted you safe. That's all he wanted. But he's dead anyway. Yes. Of a heart attack. Natural causes. Not murder. How can you be sure? Because I had him under protection. Private security watching him around the clock. If someone had tried to hurt him, we would have known. But there was no attack, no poison, no violence. His heart just stopped. Sometimes that's all it is. Sometimes there's no conspiracy. Just bad luck and biology. Lyra wanted to believe him. God, she wanted to believe him. But doubt was still there, whispering in Evelyn's voice. "What if you're wrong?" she asked. "What if there was something you missed? Then I'll spend the rest of my life trying to find who did it." "But Lyra." Ronan stepped closer, his eyes intense. "You have to decide right now who you're going to trust. Me or people who have every reason to lie to you." "I don't know how." "Yes, you do. You already know. You're just scared of what the answer means." He was right. Lyra did know. Ronan had protected her, housed her, defended her, shown her more honesty in 6 months than most people showed in a lifetime. And Evelyn was a stranger with a grudge and questionable evidence. But trusting Ronan meant accepting that her life had become inescapably tangled with a man who operated in shadows. That there would always be questions she couldn't answer, truths she couldn't verify. It meant choosing to believe when belief was the most dangerous thing she could offer. "Come inside," Ronan said quietly. "We'll go through every piece of evidence together. I'll answer every question, and then you can make your choice." Lyra nodded. They went inside. They sat at the kitchen table for 3 hours while Ronan laid out his entire operation like he was presenting a business case. Financial records, security reports, surveillance logs from the months before her father's death, medical records showing a history of heart problems her father had never mentioned. Everything pointed to natural causes. Everything except the voice in Lyra's head that kept asking, what if he's just that good at covering his tracks? "I need to call Evelyn," she said finally. Ronan's expression hardened. "Why?" "Because she's expecting an answer. If I don't call, she'll assume I'm helping you cover something up. She'll go to the FBI. Let her. She doesn't have real evidence. But she'll drag us both into an investigation. Our marriage will be scrutinized. Your business will be examined. Everything will—" "I don't care." Ronan leaned forward. "Let her do her worst. I'm not letting you anywhere near that woman again. That's not your decision." "Yes, it is. Because you're my wife, and that means you're under my protection whether you like it or not." The possessiveness should have angered her. Instead, it felt like safety, which was exactly the problem. "I have to call her," Lyra said. "I have to tell her I'm not helping." "Then do it here, with me listening." Lyra pulled out the burner phone, dialed the number. Evelyn answered immediately. "Have you made your decision?" "I'm not helping you." Silence. Then, "He got to you." "No one got to me. I just don't believe you." "You're making a mistake." "Maybe. But it's my mistake to make." "When he hurts you, and he will hurt you eventually, don't say I didn't warn you." "Is that a threat?" "It's a prediction." Evelyn's voice went cold. "Enjoy your blood money, Mrs. DeLuca. I hope it's worth your soul." The line went dead. Lyra set down the phone. "It's done," she said. Ronan looked at her across the table, his expression unreadable. "Do you trust me now?" "I'm trying." "That's not an answer. It's the only answer I have." They sat in silence. Outside, rain started falling. Lyra watched water streak down the windows and thought about all the ways this could still go wrong. Her phone, her real phone, powered back on, buzzed. Unknown number. Against every instinct, she opened the message. It was a photo. Ronan. Younger, maybe 10 years ago, standing with her father outside the same warehouse from Evelyn's video. But this photo was different. In this one, they were shaking hands, and behind them, barely visible in the background, was a body covered with a tarp. Below the image, "Ask him about the Riverside Massacre. Ask him how many men died so his father could build an empire." Lyra's hands started shaking. "What is it?" Ronan asked. She couldn't speak, just turned the phone around so he could see. All color drained from his face. "Where did you get this?" "I don't know." "Unknown number." Ronan grabbed the phone, his movements sharp, panicked. "When was this sent?" "Just now." He swore viciously, stood, started pacing. "Ronan, what is the Riverside Massacre?" "Something that happened a long time ago." "How long?" 10 years. "Were you there?" "Yes." "Did people die?" "Yes." "How many?" Ronan stopped pacing, looked at her with eyes that had gone completely dead. 14. The number hung in the air like a guillotine blade. "And my father," Lyra's voice was barely a whisper. Was he there? He was brought in afterward to negotiate peace with the families, to offer compensation, to make sure. Ronan stopped, shook his head. It doesn't matter. It's in the past. It matters if someone's using it against us. Then we deal with it, together. But Lyra was already standing, already backing toward the door, because she just understood something horrifying. The photo showed Ronan and her father together, after a massacre. 14 bodies, which meant her father had known what Ronan was capable of, had known and still worked with him, had known and still protected him, had known and never told her. Lyra, I need air. Don't. But she was already out the door, running down the hallway, hitting the stairs because waiting for the elevator meant Ronan could catch up. She burst onto the street, rain soaking her immediately, and started running. No destination, just away. Behind her, she heard Ronan shouting her name. She ran faster, made it 3 blocks before the van pulled up beside her. The side door slid open. Men in masks grabbed her, hauling her inside before she could scream. The last thing she saw before everything went dark was Ronan, half a block away, running toward her with an expression of absolute terror. Then a cloth pressed over her face. Chemical smell. Darkness. When Lyra woke up, everything had changed. She was in a room she didn't recognize, hands zip-tied to a chair, head pounding from whatever they'd used to knock her out. And standing in front of her, smiling that cold, sharp smile, was Evelyn Kane. "Welcome back, Mrs. DeLuca," Evelyn said. "Now the real work begins." Lyra's first coherent thought was pain. Her wrists burned where the zip ties cut into skin. Her head throbbed from whatever chemical cocktail they'd used to knock her out. Her mouth tasted like copper and fear. The second thought was, I'm going to die here. The room was bare concrete. No windows. One door. A single bulb hanging from the ceiling casting sickly yellow light. The kind of place where people disappeared and never came back. Evelyn Kane stood 5 feet away, looking far too composed for someone who'd just committed kidnapping. "I'm sorry about the dramatics," Evelyn said, like she was apologizing for serving bad coffee. "But you forced my hand. I gave you a choice. You chose wrong." Lyra's throat was dry. "Let me go." "I will. As soon as you help me." "I'm not helping you." "Yes, you are." Evelyn pulled up a chair, sat down. "Because the alternative is, I kill you and send pieces of you to Ronan until he gives me what I want." The casual way she said it made Lyra's stomach lurch. "You're insane." "I'm practical. There's a difference." Evelyn crossed her legs. "Here's what's going to happen. You're going to call Ronan. Tell him you're safe. Tell him you need space, and you'll contact him in a few days. Convince him not to come looking for you. He won't believe me." "He will if you're convincing enough. And you will be convincing because if you're not..." Evelyn pulled out a gun, set it on her lap. "I start removing fingers, 1 per unconvincing sentence. We'll see how many you have left by the time he hangs up." Lyra's heart hammered against her ribs. "Why are you doing this?" "Because 12 years ago, Ronan DeLuca's father ordered my husband killed. And Ronan, your precious husband, helped cover it up. He buried evidence, paid off witnesses, made sure justice never came." Evelyn's voice went cold. "So now I'm going to do to him what he did to me. Take everything he loves, destroy him piece by piece, and you're going to help me do it." "I won't." "Then you'll die." Evelyn raised the gun. Lyra braced herself, trying not to shake, trying to remember how to breathe. The gun lowered. "But not yet," Evelyn said. "First, I'm going to make you useful." She stood, walked to the door, and knocked twice. 2 men entered, big, professional, the kind of muscle that didn't ask questions. "Bring in the guest," Evelyn said. They left. Came back 30 seconds later, dragging someone between them. When Lyra saw who it was, her heart stopped. Vivienne Russo. Blood dripped from a cut above her eye. Her expensive clothes were torn, hands bound behind her back, but her expression was pure fury. "You stupid bitch," Vivienne spat at Evelyn. "You have no idea what you've started." "I know exactly what I've started." Evelyn gestured to the men. "Put her in the other chair." They zip-tied Vivienne across from Lyra. "What is this?" Lyra asked. "Insurance." Evelyn moved between them. Ronan cares about you. Stupidly, irrationally cares about you, but he also has history with Vivian. Complicated history. So now I have leverage twice over. Vivian laughed bitterly. Ronan won't negotiate for me. He'll burn this whole place down and walk through the ashes to get to Lyra. But me? I'm nothing to him. We'll see. Evelyn pulled out a phone. Not a burner, Lyra noticed. A smartphone. Time to make that call, Mrs. DeLuca. No. Evelyn pressed the gun against Vivian's temple. Call him. Now. Or I put a bullet in her brain and we start this conversation again with you. Vivian's eyes met Lyra's. Don't do it. He's already coming. Nothing you say will stop him. She's right, Lyra said. Ronan saw me get taken. He knows I didn't leave voluntarily. Evelyn's expression flickered. Uncertainty. Fear. She hadn't counted on that. Then we move to Plan B, she said. What's Plan B? Vivian asked. Evelyn smiled. We make him choose which one of you lives. They moved locations 20 minutes later. Lyra and Vivian were thrown into the back of a windowless van, zip ties replaced with rope that cut deeper, hoods thrown over their heads. The drive lasted an hour, maybe more. Lyra lost track of time in the darkness, focusing on breathing, on staying conscious, on not letting panic devour her completely. When the van stopped and the hood came off, they were somewhere worse. An abandoned factory, rusted machinery, broken windows letting in gray dawn light, the smell of oil and decay. And people. At least a dozen armed men positioned around the space, professional security or mercenaries. Lyra couldn't tell the difference, all of them watching her and Vivian like they were cargo. Evelyn stood in the center of it all, orchestrating. Bring them to the main floor, she ordered. They were dragged to a clear space near the factory's center. Lyra could see the entire layout now. Exits blocked, high ground covered, every angle controlled. This wasn't amateur hour anymore. This was a trap designed to kill. He's going to come for her, Vivian said quietly beside her. You know that, right? I know. And a lot of people are going to die. I know that too. You should be more scared. Lyra turned to look at her. I'm terrified. I just don't have the energy to show it. Vivian's mouth twisted. You're tougher than I thought. Or stupider. Maybe both. Despite everything, Lyra almost smiled. Evelyn appeared in front of them, phone in hand. He's been trying to call you for the last hour. 27 missed calls, 34 texts. The man is unraveling. Good, Vivian said. Unraveled Ronan is dangerous Ronan. Desperate Ronan is predictable Ronan. Evelyn crouched down to Lyra's eye level. Here's what happens now. I'm going to send him a location. He's going to come here with whatever army he can assemble. And when he walks through that door, I'm going to give him a choice. What choice? Lyra asked. Save you or save evidence of every crime his family has ever committed. Files I have hidden across the city, set to upload to federal servers unless I personally stop them. He can have his wife or he can have his freedom, but not both. That's not a choice. That's cruelty. That's justice. Evelyn stood. You took my husband. I take his future, fair trade. Your husband was a thief, Vivian said. He stole millions. He got himself killed. Evelyn backhanded her. The sound echoed through the factory. Vivian's head snapped to the side, blood trickling from her lip. When she looked back up, she was smiling. Truth hurts, doesn't it? Evelyn raised her hand again. Enough. One of the armed men stepped forward, older, scarred, authority radiating off him. We're not here to indulge your revenge fantasy. We're here for a job, so either get on with it or we walk. Evelyn's jaw tightened, but she nodded. Send the location. The man pulled out a tablet, typed something. Done. ETA 12 minutes. 12 minutes until Ronan arrived. 12 minutes until this all ended in blood. Lyra tested her bonds. Solid. No give. She looked at Vivian, who was doing the same. Any brilliant escape plans? Lyra whispered. Several. None that work when we're tied up and surrounded by armed mercenaries. So we wait for Ronan, and hope he's smarter than he is angry, which, Vivian shook her head, is not a bet I'd take. Ronan arrived in 9 minutes. The factory doors exploded inward with a sound like thunder. Smoke grenades followed, filling the space with choking gray fog. Gunfire erupted immediately. Lyra hit the ground, Vivian doing the same beside her. Bullets tore through the air above them, ricocheting off machinery, punching through metal with sounds like drums. Through the smoke, Lyra saw shapes moving. Ronan's people. More than she'd expected. A lot more. This wasn't a rescue. This was a war. "Stay down!" someone shouted. Lyra pressed her face to the concrete, rope burning her wrists as she tried to crawl toward cover. Beside her, Vivian was doing the same, moving like she'd done this before. The gunfire intensified, screaming, bodies dropping. Then a hand grabbed Lyra's shoulder. She tried to scream, but a familiar voice cut through the chaos. "It's me!" Ronan. He appeared out of the smoke like a ghost, face streaked with dirt, gun in one hand, knife in the other. His eyes met hers for half a second, relief and terror, and something fiercer, before he cut through her bonds. "Can you run?" he asked. "Yes." "Then run. Exits northwest. My people will cover you." "What about—" "I'll get Vivian. Go. Now." But before Lyra could move, the smoke cleared enough to reveal Evelyn. She stood on a catwalk 20 feet above them, gun pointed directly at Ronan. "Stop," she said. Everyone froze. Evelyn's people. Ronan's people. The whole factory holding its breath. "Drop your weapons," Evelyn continued. "All of you, or I start executing hostages." Ronan slowly straightened. "You don't want to do this. I've been waiting 12 years to do this." "Evelyn, listen to me." "No, you listen." Her voice cracked. "Your father killed my husband. You helped hide it. And now you're going to pay." "My father gave the order, not me. I was barely involved." "You were there. You watched them kill him and you did nothing." "I was 23 years old. I had no power, no control, You had a choice." Evelyn's hand shook. "You could have gone to the police. You could have testified. You could have done something. But you chose your family, your empire, your blood-soaked legacy." Ronan's expression went cold. "Yes, I did. Because in my world, betraying family means death, and I wanted to live. That's the choice I made. I'm not proud of it, but I don't apologize for surviving." "Then you'll understand why I can't let you walk out of here." She pulled the trigger. The gun didn't fire. Evelyn stared at it, confused. Pulled the trigger again. Click. "I had your weapons checked 2 hours ago," Ronan said quietly. "Every gun your people brought into this factory has been sabotaged. They'll fire once, maybe twice, then jam. You've been outplayed." Evelyn's face went white. She looked at her mercenaries. "Shoot him!" They tried. Half the guns jammed immediately. The ones that fired got off maybe 3 rounds before malfunctioning. Ronan's people returned fire with weapons that worked perfectly. It was a massacre. Evelyn's mercenaries went down in seconds. Professional soldiers caught with broken tools, dying confused. Within 30 seconds, it was over. Bodies everywhere, blood pooling on concrete, the smell of gunpowder and death. And Evelyn, still standing on the catwalk, now completely alone. "It's done," Ronan said. "Come down. We'll talk." "There's nothing to talk about." "Evelyn, the files still exist. The evidence still uploads in—" She checked her watch. 4 minutes. Unless I stop it. And I'm not stopping it unless you let me walk out of here." Ronan was quiet for a moment. Then, "What files?" "Everything. Riverside. The shell companies. The money laundering. Witness intimidation. All of it. Enough to put you away for life." "And you'll destroy them if I let you go?" "Yes." "You're lying." Evelyn's smile was bitter. "Probably, but are you willing to take that risk?" Ronan looked at Lyra. Their eyes met across the smoke and carnage. In that moment, Lyra saw him make a choice. "Let her go," he said to his people. "Sir, I said let her go." The path to the exit cleared. Evelyn descended the catwalk slowly, never taking her eyes off Ronan. When she reached the ground, she started backing toward the door. "The files?" Ronan asked. "I'll destroy them. You have my word." "Your word means nothing." "Then I guess you'll find out in 3 minutes." She was almost to the exit when Vivian spoke. "She's lying, Ronan. There are no files." Everyone turned to look at her. Vivian, still tied to her chair, blood on her face, smiled grimly. I've been tracking Evelyn for months. I know every move she's made. There are no files, no evidence, no insurance. She's been bluffing since the beginning. Evelyn's expression cracked. You're lying, she said, but her voice wavered. Am I? Then show us proof. Pull out your phone. Show us the upload screen. Prove the files exist. Evelyn reached for her phone. Her hand came up empty. She'd left it on the catwalk. It doesn't matter, she said, but panic was bleeding into her voice now. You can't prove they don't exist. You can't risk it. Ronan pulled out his own phone, showed her the screen. It displayed a federal database. Marcus Kane's file. Every investigation into his death. Every piece of evidence. All of it pointing to suicide. I had my people check, Ronan said. There's no evidence of murder because there was no murder. Your husband killed himself, Evelyn. Pills and alcohol. He left a note. The FBI investigated and closed the case. No, you're lying. The note is in the evidence locker. I can get you a copy if you want. It talks about the embezzlement, the guilt, how he couldn't live with what he'd done. It's signed, authenticated, real. Evelyn shook her head, backing away faster. My husband he didn't steal. He stole $3.7 million over 6 years. The forensic accountants found all of it. It's documented. Ronan's voice was almost gentle. I'm sorry. I know you needed someone to blame, but your husband's death isn't on me. It's on him. You're lying. You have to be lying. I'm not. Evelyn's face crumpled. 12 years of rage and grief and misdirected vengeance collapsing in on itself. She pulled out a backup gun. Evelyn, don't. She raised it to her own head. I'm sorry, Marcus, she whispered. Lyra screamed. No! Ronan moved faster than seemed possible, crossing the space between them in seconds. But not fast enough. The gunshot echoed through the factory. Evelyn Kane dropped. Blood spread across concrete. And just like that, 12 years of revenge ended in a single moment of truth too terrible to bear. Chamek. The aftermath was chaos. Ronan's people secured the scene. Police were called, ones on Ronan's payroll, Lyra assumed. Statements were taken. Bodies were removed. Lyra sat on the hood of a car outside, wrapped in someone's jacket, watching emergency lights paint the sky red and blue. Vivian sat beside her, holding an ice pack to her face. You saved his life, Lyra said quietly. I saved all our lives. Evelyn was 2 seconds from executing everyone in that factory. Still, thank you. Vivian shrugged. Don't make it a thing. I didn't do it for you. Who'd you do it for? Myself. Dead bodies are bad for business. But Lyra saw through the lie. Saw the way Vivian's eyes kept drifting to where Ronan stood talking to his security chief. Saw the old pain buried beneath the Ice Queen exterior. You still love him, Lyra said. I never loved him. We were a business arrangement. You're a terrible liar. Vivian's jaw tightened. What I feel doesn't matter. He chose you. So take care of him, because if you break his heart, I'll break you. She stood, walked away before Lyra could respond. Ronan appeared a moment later. You okay? He asked. Define okay. Alive. Not shot. Not traumatized beyond repair. Then I guess I'm okay. He sat beside her, didn't touch her, just sat there, close enough that Lyra could feel heat radiating off him. I thought I'd lost you, he said quietly. You almost did. If I had... His voice broke. I don't know what I would have done. Lyra turned to look at him. Really look at him. At the man who'd torn apart half the city to save her. Who'd walked into a trap knowing it was a trap. Who'd been willing to let a blackmailer go free if it meant keeping her safe. Why? She asked. Why what? Why me? Why does it matter if I live or die? I'm nobody. Just some woman you married for convenience. Ronan was quiet for a long moment. Then, you stopped being convenient the moment you looked at me like I was human instead of a monster. You are human. Barely. Most days I'm not sure I remember how. Then I'll remind you. His eyes met hers. Lyra, I know what you are. What you've done. The blood on your hands and the bodies in your past. I know all of it. and I'm choosing to stay anyway. You shouldn't. Probably not. But I'm tired of doing what I should do. I want to do what I want to do. And what do you want? Lyra reached out, took his hand, felt his fingers close around hers. I want to try. Forget the contract, forget the rules. Just try. Actually try. It won't be easy. Nothing worth having ever is. Ronan pulled her closer, pressed his forehead against hers. Okay, he whispered. We try. They sat like that, holding each other while the sun came up and the police cleaned blood off concrete and the city woke up to another day of pretending monsters didn't exist. But the peace lasted exactly 4 hours. Lyra was in the shower at the penthouse, trying to wash away smoke and fear, when she heard shouting from the living room. She threw on a robe, ran out. Ronan stood in the center of the room, surrounded by his security team. Everyone looked grim. What happened? She asked. Ronan turned. His face was pale. Evelyn didn't lie about the files, he said. What? She lied about what was in them. They're not evidence of my family's crimes. He pulled up his laptop, showed her the screen. They're evidence of federal crimes, corruption, judges on payroll, politicians taking bribes, FBI agents running protection rackets. She spent 12 years documenting government corruption, and she just uploaded all of it to every major news outlet in the country. Lyra's stomach dropped. When? 10 minutes ago. It's already going viral. He switched to a news feed, headlines screaming scandal, photos of politicians, names Lyra recognized. This is going to destroy them, she said. It's going to destroy everyone. Evelyn built her files by working with some of the most dangerous people in this city, and now all those people are exposed, which means... Gunfire erupted from the hallway. Ronan grabbed Lyra, pulling her down as the windows exploded inward. Glass rained down. Bullets tore through furniture. We have to move, Ronan's security chief shouted. They're coming up the service elevator. Who's they? Lyra screamed over the noise. Everyone, Ronan said grimly. Every criminal organization that just got exposed. Every corrupt official trying to cover their tracks. Every enemy I've ever made who sees this as their chance to eliminate me. More gunfire. Closer now. How do we get out? Lyra asked. We don't. We hold the line until reinforcements arrive. How long? 20 minutes. An explosion rocked the building. The lights flickered. 20 minutes is a lifetime in a siege, the security chief said. We need to fortify. Ronan's jaw was set. Then we fortify. Lyra, go to the safe room. No. This isn't negotiable. I'm not leaving you. Their eyes met. In that moment, Lyra saw him understand. This wasn't about protection anymore. This was about partnership, about facing whatever came next together. Okay, he said. Stay behind me. Do exactly what I say. And Lyra? Yeah? If I tell you to run, you run. No arguments. Same goes for you. He almost smiled. Deal. The service elevator dinged, doors opened, and Hell walked into Ronan DeLuca's penthouse wearing tactical gear and carrying enough firepower to start a war. Ronan raised his gun. Lyra grabbed a weapon from one of the fallen guards. And together they prepared to fight for their lives against an army that wanted them dead. The first wave hit like a tsunami. 6 men poured out of the service elevator, weapons raised, faces hidden behind masks. They moved with military precision, trained killers, not street thugs. Ronan fired first. The lead man dropped, blood spraying across marble floors that had cost more than most people's homes. His partners scattered, taking cover behind furniture, returning fire that turned the penthouse into a war zone. Lyra crouched behind the kitchen island, gun heavy in her hands, heart hammering so hard she could feel it in her throat. She'd never fired a weapon in her life, never held one except in this moment. The safety was off. Ronan had showed her in 3 seconds flat, but her hand shook so badly she wasn't sure she could hit anything. Northwest corner, Ronan shouted. 2 coming around. Lyra turned, saw shapes moving through the smoke, raised the gun, pulled the trigger. The recoil nearly knocked her backward. The bullet went wide, punching through drywall 3 feet from her target, but it made them dive for cover. Good. Ronan was beside her suddenly, reloading. Keep them pinned. Don't try to hit them. Just make them think twice. There's too many. I know. We hold until Marcus gets here with backup. How long? 15 minutes. An explosion rocked the far wall. Plaster rained down. Through the smoke, Lyra saw more shapes climbing through the hole where the wall used to be. 15 minutes might as well have been 15 hours. Ronan's security chief, a man named Victor, appeared from the hallway, blood streaming from a cut on his forehead. West stairwell is compromised. They're coming up 3 floors at once. How many? Ronan asked. At least 20, maybe more. Christ. Ronan looked at Lyra. His eyes were hard, but there was something else there too. Fear. Not for himself. For her. Safe room. Now. That's not a request. I'm not leaving. Lyra, they're here to kill me. If they get to you first, they'll use you to make me surrender, and then they'll kill us both. So please, go to the safe room. Let me do what I do. She wanted to argue, wanted to stay, wanted to prove she was strong enough to stand beside him. But she wasn't stupid. Where is it? She asked. Master bedroom, behind the bookshelf. Code is 0723. Lock yourself in. Don't come out until I come get you. More gunfire, closer, the sound of boots on marble. Ronan kissed her, hard and fast and desperate. I'll come back for you. You better. Lyra ran. Down the hallway, stumbling over debris, ears ringing from gunfire and explosions. The master bedroom was a disaster. Windows blown out, curtains shredded, glass everywhere. She found the bookshelf, pulled it open. Behind it, a steel door with a keypad. Her fingers were shaking so badly it took 3 tries to enter the code. The door hissed open. Lyra stumbled inside. The safe room was small, maybe 10 by 10 feet, lined with monitors showing security feeds from throughout the penthouse. Supplies stacked against one wall, weapons mounted on another. She locked the door behind her. On the monitors, she watched Ronan and his people fight for their lives. The battle lasted 43 minutes. Lyra watched all of it from the safe room, helpless, hands pressed against her mouth to keep from screaming. She watched Ronan move through the penthouse like a ghost, taking down attackers with brutal efficiency. She watched Victor die protecting the hallway, taking 3 bullets before he fell. She watched 2 of Ronan's people make a last stand at the elevator, buying time with their lives. And she watched the moment everything changed. A man appeared on the main floor monitors, older, distinguished, wearing a suit despite the chaos. He moved through the carnage like he owned it, flanked by bodyguards, completely calm. Ronan saw him, went completely still. Even through the cameras, Lyra could see the recognition, the fear. The older man said something. The gunfire stopped. All of it. Every weapon lowered. Every attacker froze. Ronan stood in the center of the destroyed living room, alone except for 2 remaining security guards, facing down an army that had suddenly gone quiet. The older man walked closer, stopped 10 feet away. Lyra turned up the volume on the monitor. Didn't think you'd actually show up, Ronan was saying. His voice was controlled, but there was an edge to it Lyra had never heard before. You triggered a federal investigation that will destroy half the city's power structure, the older man replied. His accent was slight. European, maybe? Of course I showed up. We need to discuss consequences. I didn't trigger anything. Evelyn Kane did. Evelyn Kane is dead because you pushed her to desperation. So yes, Ronan, you triggered this, and now you're going to fix it. How? By taking the fall. Silence. Ronan laughed, a harsh, bitter sound. You want me to confess? Take responsibility for crimes I didn't commit? I want you to protect the organization, the way your father would have. My father's dead. I don't run things his way anymore. Clearly, because your father never would have married a civilian, never would have gotten emotionally compromised, never would have let personal weakness destroy decades of carefully constructed power. The older man gestured around at the destroyed penthouse. This is what happens when you let your heart make decisions. People die. Empires crumble. And now you have a choice to make. What choice? Surrender yourself to federal authorities. Confess to money laundering, racketeering, whatever they need to close their investigation quickly. Serve 10 years, maybe 15 with good behavior. And if I refuse? Then we kill your wife, slowly, and we make you watch. Lyra's blood turned to ice. On the monitor, Ronan's expression went dead. She's in the safe room. You can't get to her. The safe room with the ventilation system? The one that takes air from the building's main HVAC? The older man smiled. We control the building, Ronan. We can flood that room with gas and she'll be unconscious in 90 seconds. Dead in 5 minutes. Your choice. Ronan's hands clenched into fists. She has nothing to do with this. She has everything to do with this. She's your weakness, your vulnerability, the reason you've been making stupid decisions for 6 months. The older man stepped closer. Your father understood that love is a liability in our world. That's why he never let it touch him. But you fell for a woman you bought like property, and now that weakness is going to cost you everything. Don't touch her. Then make the right choice. Surrender. Confess. Protect the organization. And when you get out in 10 years, maybe you'll remember this lesson. And Lyra? Walks away. $2 million. Clean divorce. Just like the contract promised. She gets her freedom. You get to know she's safe. Everyone wins. Except me. You stop being important the moment you put a civilian above the family. This is mercy, Ronan. I could kill you both right now. Instead, I'm giving you a chance to save her. Lyra watched Ronan's face on the monitor, saw the moment he understood he'd lost, saw him look directly at the camera, saw his lips move, forming words she couldn't hear but somehow understood anyway. I'm sorry. Okay, Ronan said to the older man. I'll do it. I'll confess. Just promise me she walks away safe. You have my word. Your word means nothing, Alessandro. The older man, Alessandro, smiled. Then I suppose you'll just have to trust me, the way your father trusted me before you destroyed that relationship with your Reformation crusade. He gestured to his men. Take him. They moved forward. Ronan didn't resist. On the monitor, Lyra watched them restrain him, watched them drag him toward the elevator. And something inside her shattered. Not fear, not panic, rage. Pure, incandescent rage. She turned to the weapons mounted on the safe room wall, grabbed the biggest gun she could carry, some kind of automatic rifle that looked like it belonged in a war zone. Checked the clip. Full. Safety off. She unlocked the safe room door and stepped out into the hallway. Dent. The penthouse was a graveyard. Bodies everywhere. Blood on every surface. The smell of gunpowder and death so thick Lyra could taste it. She moved through it like a ghost, rifle raised, finger on the trigger. In the living room, Alessandro's men had Ronan on his knees, hands zip-tied behind his back, gun pressed to the base of his skull. Alessandro stood in front of him, looking pleased with himself. Before we go, he was saying, I want you to understand something. Your father built an empire. You tried to tear it down, but empires don't die easily. They adapt, they survive, and they eliminate threats. I understand, Ronan said quietly. Do you? Do you really understand that everything you tried to build, the legitimate businesses, the clean money, the respectable reputation, all of it was a fantasy? You can't wash blood off with good intentions. Maybe not. But I had to try. And look where it got you. On your knees, destroyed by the very weakness you thought would save you. Alessandro pulled out a phone. I'm going to call the FBI now. You're going to confess to every crime they've been investigating. You're going to give them names, dates, evidence. You're going to be so cooperative, they'll think you've found conscience. And then you're going to spend the next decade in a federal prison thinking about the woman you could have saved if you'd just stayed smart. He started to dial. Lyra stepped into the room. Stop. Every head turned. Alessandro looked at her like she was an insect that had wandered into a place it didn't belong. Mrs. DeLuca, he said pleasantly, you should be in the safe room. I was. Now I'm here. She raised the rifle. Let him go. Alessandro laughed. You're holding that weapon like you've never fired a gun in your life. I haven't. Then put it down before you hurt yourself. No. Lyra! Ronan's voice was strained. Go back to the safe room, please. Not without you. This isn't your fight. Yes, it is. She kept the rifle trained on Alessandro. You became my fight the moment you married me, the moment you protected me, the moment you chose me over your empire. So I'm choosing you back. Alessandro sighed. This is touching, really. But you're outnumbered 20-1. You have one gun. My men have experience, training, and the willingness to kill you where you stand. So either put down the weapon or watch your husband die. If you kill him, I pull this trigger. Maybe I miss you. Maybe I hit 3 of your men. Maybe I hit nothing. But in the chaos, maybe one of Ronan's people gets free. Maybe they kill you. Maybe this whole thing falls apart. Are you willing to take that risk?" Alessandro studied her. "You know what? I believe you're crazy enough to try, which is unfortunate." He gestured to his men. "Kill her." Three things happened simultaneously. First, the windows exploded inward as federal agents repelled into the penthouse from above. Second, the remaining members of Ronan's security team emerged from hiding and opened fire on Alessandro's people. Third, Lyra pulled the trigger. The rifle kicked so hard she nearly dropped it. The bullet went wide, exactly like she'd feared, but it didn't matter, because the FBI was already inside, already shouting orders, already arresting everyone in sight. Chaos erupted. Alessandro's men tried to fight, tried to escape, tried to do anything except surrender. It didn't work. Within 2 minutes, every one of them was on the ground, cuffed, bleeding, defeated. Alessandro himself sat perfectly calm, hands raised, a slight smile on his face. "Ronan DeLuca," an FBI agent announced. "You're under arrest for—" "Wait!" A woman's voice, sharp, authoritative. A federal agent pushed through the crowd. Older, professional. The kind of person who'd seen everything and stopped being impressed. She held up a badge. "Special Agent Sarah Chen, Department of Justice. Nobody arrests anybody until I say so." The agent who'd been about to cuff Ronan hesitated. "Ma'am, we have warrants." "Your warrants are based on evidence that's been under seal for 6 hours. Evidence my team has been analyzing. Evidence that shows Ronan DeLuca has been cooperating with federal investigators for 18 months. He's an asset, not a target." Silence. Alessandro's smile vanished. Ronan looked up at Agent Chen, surprise clear on his face. "What? You didn't think all those business transitions you made went unnoticed, did you?" Chen moved closer. "Clean money, legitimate investments, cutting ties with criminal elements. My team approached you a year and a half ago. You agreed to help us build cases against actual criminals in exchange for immunity." "I never agreed to—" "You did, through your lawyer, Martin Chen." She gestured to someone in the hallway. Martin Chen walked in, looking apologetic. "Sorry, Ronan, but it was the only way to keep you alive long enough to actually go legitimate." Ronan stared at him. "You made a deal with the FBI without telling me." "You were being stubborn. Someone had to save you from yourself." Agent Chen pulled out a folder. "Every business transition, every severed tie, every criminal you refused to work with. We documented all of it. And when Evelyn Kane's files went public, we already had everything we needed. The files just accelerated our timeline." She looked at Alessandro. "Which means, Alessandro Vitale, you're under arrest for racketeering, murder, conspiracy, and about 40 other charges that will keep you in federal prison until you die." Alessandro's expression went cold. "You have no proof." "We have 18 months of surveillance, wiretaps, testimony from people you thought were loyal. And now we have Evelyn Kane's files, which include several conversations between you and various corrupt officials planning exactly the kind of crimes Ronan refused to participate in." Chen smiled. "You're done." Alessandro was dragged to his feet. As they led him past Ronan, he leaned in close. "This isn't over," he whispered. "Yeah," Ronan said quietly. "It is." They took him away. The cleanup took hours. FBI agents swarmed the penthouse, cataloging evidence, taking statements, documenting everything. Bodies were removed, weapons collected. The space transformed from crime scene to federal investigation. Lyra sat on what remained of the couch, wrapped in a blanket someone had given her, watching it all happen like she was underwater. Ronan appeared beside her. Someone had cut his zip ties, given him water. He looked exhausted. "You okay?" he asked. "I don't know. Ask me tomorrow." "Tomorrow you'll be answering questions for federal prosecutors, so maybe ask me next week." Despite everything, Lyra almost smiled. "We're going to be okay, aren't we?" "Eventually, maybe, if we're lucky." "That's not very reassuring." "I'm not very good at reassuring." Ronan took her hand. "But I'm good at surviving, and I'm very good at protecting what's mine, so yeah, we'll be okay." Agent Chen approached. "Mr. DeLuca, Mrs. DeLuca, we need statements from both of you. It's going to take a while." "How long?" Lyra asked. Few days, maybe a week. You'll need lawyers present, the whole process. And after that? Chen looked at Ronan. After that, you're free. Clean record. Immunity from prosecution. You did what we asked. You transitioned your business. You gave us everything we needed to take down the real criminals. What about my wife? What about her? She was caught in the middle of this. She didn't know about the cooperation agreement, didn't know any of it. Then she has nothing to worry about. We're not interested in prosecuting victims. Chen walked away to direct her team. Ronan turned to Lyra. I'm sorry. For what? All of it. Marrying you under false pretenses. Dragging you into my world. Almost getting you killed. Take your pick. You saved my life. After putting it in danger in the first place. Ronan. Lyra turned to face him fully. I knew what I was signing up for. Maybe not the specifics, but I knew your world was dangerous. I chose it anyway. Why? Because drowning slowly in debt seemed worse than drowning quickly in chaos. At least chaos is interesting. He laughed, a real laugh, the first she'd heard from him in days. You're insane. Probably. But I'm your kind of insane. Yeah, you are. They sat together while federal agents worked around them, holding hands like teenagers, covered in blood and dust and the wreckage of everything they thought they knew. The contract, Lyra said suddenly. It's been almost a year. 11 months. 2 weeks. You kept track? Of course I kept track. So in 2 weeks I could walk away. $2 million. Clean divorce. Just like we agreed. Ronan's hand tightened on hers. Is that what you want? I don't know. Is it what you want? No. But what I want doesn't matter. You deserve a choice, a real one. Not one made under duress or fear or desperation. Lyra thought about it. About the woman who'd climbed into Ronan's car 6 months ago, drowning in debt and grief and hopelessness. About everything that had happened since. The terror and violence and chaos. And the moments between. The quiet conversations. The way Ronan looked at her when he thought she wasn't watching. The feeling of being protected for the first time in her life. Ask me again in 2 weeks, she said. Okay. But Ronan? Yeah? I'm pretty sure I already know what my answer's going to be. His eyes met hers. Yeah? Yeah. They stayed like that while the FBI worked and the sun came up and the city below them woke to news of the biggest organized crime takedown in a decade. 2 weeks later, Lyra stood in front of her father's grave. Someone had repaired it, filled in the hole where they dug up his ring. The stone was clean. Fresh flowers sat in the holder. Ronan had done that, without asking, without making a big deal of it. He stood a respectful distance away now, giving her space. Hey, Dad, Lyra said quietly. I know you can't hear me. I know you're not actually here, but I'm going to talk anyway because I need to say this out loud. The wind rustled through trees overhead. I'm not mad at you anymore for the debts, for the secrets, for dying and leaving me alone. I understand now that you did the best you could with impossible choices, that you tried to protect me even when it meant working with people you hated, that love sometimes means making ugly decisions to keep people safe. She knelt down, touched the headstone. I met someone. You'd probably hate him at first. He's arrogant and dangerous and built his life on things you spent yours trying to escape. But he's also brave and honest and willing to burn down his entire empire to keep me safe. So I think, eventually, you'd understand why I love him. The admission surprised her. She hadn't said it out loud before, hadn't even admitted it to herself. But it was true. She loved Ronan DeLuca, the monster, the king, the man who'd bought her like property and then given her the freedom to choose. I'm staying, she told her father's grave, not because I'm trapped, but because I want to, because he's my choice, my decision. And for the first time in my life, I'm choosing something for me, not because I have to, because I want to. She stood, wiped her eyes. Ronan approached slowly. You okay? Yeah, I think I am. They walked back to the car together. Lyra paused before getting in. 2 weeks are up, she said. I know. So ask me. Ronan turned to face her fully. Lyra Vale DeLuca, do you want to stay married to me? Not for money, not for safety, not because of a contract, just because. Because why? Because I love you. Because you make me want to be better than I am. Because you're the first person in my entire life who's seen the worst parts of me and stayed anyway. He took her hands. So, do you want to stay? Lyra pretended to think about it. What's the offer? No money, no contract, no guarantees, just me. Trying very hard not to screw this up. Probably failing sometimes, but always choosing you. Always. That's a terrible offer. I know. I'll take it. Ronan pulled her close, kissed her like he'd been waiting his whole life for permission. When they broke apart, both of them were smiling. We should probably get married again, Lyra said. The first time doesn't really count. Why not? Because I said I do under duress. This time I want to mean it. Okay, when? Whenever you want. Tomorrow? You're insane. You said you liked that about me. I said I was your kind of insane. There's a difference. They got in the car, started driving back toward the city, toward the penthouse that had been repaired but would never quite look the same, toward a life that would always be complicated but might just be worth it. Ronan? Lyra said as they merged onto the highway. Yeah? Thank you. For what? For giving me a choice, for not making me feel trapped, for being honest even when the truth was ugly. Thank you for staying, for seeing who I actually am instead of who everyone thinks I am, for being brave enough to love a monster. You're not a monster. I'm a little bit of a monster. Okay, maybe a little bit, but you're my monster, so it's fine. Ronan laughed, reached over and took her hand. They drove through the city as the sun set, painting everything gold and red and beautiful despite all the ugliness buried beneath. 5 years later. Lyra stood in the kitchen of a house that looked nothing like the penthouse. Smaller, warmer, full of photographs and memories, and the kind of clutter that meant people actually lived there. She was making coffee when arms wrapped around her from behind. Morning, Ronan murmured against her neck. Morning yourself. You're up early? Couldn't sleep. Bad dreams? No, good ones actually, which is new. She turned in his arms. He looked different now, older, softer around the edges. The violence hadn't completely left his eyes, probably never would, but it was buried deeper, controlled. The lawyer called, he said. Finalization paperwork came through. Lyra's heart jumped. Really? Really. As of yesterday, we are officially the parents of one very loud, very opinionated 2-year-old girl. They'd been trying to adopt for 18 months, fighting through red tape and background checks and skeptical social workers who couldn't quite believe a former crime lord could be a good father. But they'd proven it, together. Where is she? Lyra asked. Still sleeping, miracle of miracles. They stood together in the morning light, holding each other, listening to the silence that wouldn't last much longer. You happy? Ronan asked, terrified, exhausted, completely overwhelmed, and yes, happy. Good. Me too. Footsteps on the stairs. Small ones. Their daughter appeared in the doorway, hair sticking up, clutching a stuffed elephant. Mama, Papa, I'm hungry, Lyra laughed. Of course you are. Come here, baby. The girl ran over. Ronan picked her up, settled her on his hip. Pancakes, he asked, with chocolate chips. Your mama's going to say that's too much sugar. Mama always says that, because Mama's smart. Lyra kissed her forehead. But today's special, so yes, chocolate chips. They made breakfast together, messy and chaotic and perfect. Later, after their daughter had eaten half her weight in pancakes and gone to play in the living room, Ronan and Lyra stood at the kitchen window watching her. You know what I realized? Lyra said. What? That night, when I signed the contract, I thought I was selling my soul to survive. And now? Now I think maybe I was finding it. Ronan pulled her close. You gave me a soul, Lyra. Before you, I was just going through motions, playing a part. After you... He stopped, shook his head. After you, I remembered what it felt like to be human. We saved each other. Yeah, we did, their daughter called from the living room. Mama, Papa, come play. They went to her, built block towers that would fall, read stories they'd read 100 times before. existed in the simple, beautiful chaos of family. That night, after their daughter was asleep, Lyra and Ronan stood on their back porch watching stars. "Do you ever miss it?" she asked. "The power, the empire, the fear." "No. I miss the simplicity sometimes, knowing exactly who I was, what I was supposed to do. But the rest of it?" He shook his head. "That life almost killed us both. This life, messy and complicated and nothing like I planned, this is worth more than any empire. Even with all the parent-teacher conferences and diaper changes and sleepless nights? Especially with those things." Lyra leaned against him. "I love you, Ronan DeLuca. I love you too, Lyra DeLuca. No contract required." They stood together under stars, two people who'd found each other in the worst possible circumstances and somehow built the best possible life. Behind them, through the window, their daughter slept peacefully in a home built on choices instead of contracts, on love instead of obligation, on the terrifying, beautiful truth that sometimes survival means letting someone see all your scars and choosing them anyway. The city spread out in the distance, glittering and dangerous and full of ghosts, but they weren't part of that world anymore. They'd built something new, something clean, something theirs. And as Ronan pulled Lyra closer, as she felt his heartbeat steady against her cheek, she thought about the woman who'd stood in the rain burying her father with nothing left to lose. That woman had signed a contract to survive. This woman, this Lyra, had chosen love instead, and that made all the difference. The end.